You can see us. Wow. Wow. All right, before we record our live audio, let's oh god, that's going to be loud. All right, see, we have audio. Boom. We're good to go. All right, you ready?
I'm ready. Do you want me to do the intro or what?
Sure, go for it.
All righty.
3, 2, 1, go.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Just Browsin podcast. I am your co-host, Zach. Back again with Matt today after a little bit of a hiatus. I believe this is the first episode we've recorded in like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
We keep saying we're going to do a better job of recording these on a more regular schedule, and then life gets in the way, and we got a bunch of shit going on. We were both out of town here
the past
the last
2 weekends,
couple weekends, so
I've been sick for 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been hard to get together and do one of these, but we're finally back. So thanks everybody for your patience. I know our legions of listeners were just clamoring for more content from the Just Browsin podcast.
I was getting emails every day being like, "Hey, where are you guys?"
But we're back today. We're going to do a little bit of I'm not going to limit it to just an NBA talk. Let's just say it's a sports check-in podcast because I do want to get some of your thoughts on like the draft and the whole Shadira thing, but we can get to that a little bit later. But we wanted
to do
an
an
NBA
check-in first.
Yeah, but we wanted to kind of do like an NBA playoffs check-in because we are now to the point where we have basically half of the conference finals set, and we're just kind of waiting on a couple of games in the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference to figure out who their opponents are going to be. So we're recording this Friday. It's the 16th, right? Friday,
May 16th.
The
2025
Knicks,
at 7:34 p.m. Mountain Standard Time.
the year of our Lord, 2025.
Every year's the year of our Lord.
Right now, the Celtics and Knicks are playing Game 6 of that series. The Knicks currently have a 3-2 advantage, and they are currently up, 64-37 at halftime?
27 points at half.
So, yeah, not looking great for Boston. And obviously, they just had a huge blow. Pretty much their star player, Jason Tatum, went down in Game 4, was it, with an Achilles?
Late Game 4, he ruptured his Achilles on a drive.
So he is now obviously done for the playoffs. They're down, a superstar. They're already down in the series. They were down 3-1. They won in Game 4. What was that?
They won Game 5.
Or Game 5.
They won by almost 20. Yeah.
So showed some real resilience there. But anyway, we're waiting on the result of that series to see who is going to basically match up.
They'll play
against
the Pacers.
The Indiana Pacers. I almost called them the Indianapolis Pacers.
The Indianapolis Pacers.
The Indianapolis Colts Pacers. And
Fever.
then the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves have advanced to the Western Conference Finals, and we are waiting on Game 7 between our Denver Nuggets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, which will be played on Sunday afternoon. Yep. So that series is all tied up. Pretty exciting game last night. I watched all of games 5 and 6. I saw quite a bit of bits and pieces of the games in the earlier series, like games 1 through 3, but I watched all of games 5 and 6. So I kind of wanted to start our conversation there with a little table setting and just see how are you feeling about the Nuggets going into Game 7 on Sunday? How are you feeling about our chances? Have you been watching a lot of the series, yay or nay?
Well, I'm going to jump to the first round.
Okay.
Nuggets Clippers I thought was going to be the most intriguing first round, at least in terms of the West. The Clippers were the hottest team in the league coming into the playoffs. I think we had discussed this before.
Mm-hmm.
We just fired our head coach 3 games to go and our GM 3 games to go in the regular season. So it's one of those sorry guys, I'm trying not to cough up a storm here, so I'm going to be popping Halls. This episode's brought to you by Halls.
Brought to you by Halls. Love a good Halls, man. Those are clutch.
So honestly, I didn't think the Nuggets were going to get out of the first round. I thought the Clippers were going to be able to.
There were some points during that series where it was looking like they weren't going to. The Clippers were still playing really well in several of those games.
And so it was one of those things I was like, I think the Clippers might get it done. It was going to be a 6 or 7 series or game series. And when the Nuggets won in 7, I kind of sat there and I was like, good on them. And then the NBA is like, by the way, you have 1 day rest, and then you have to travel to Oklahoma City to play the 68-win Thunder, who just swept the Grizzlies in the first round.
And are coming off a bunch of rest.
They had 8 days rest before game 1, and the Nuggets had 27 hours.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there going, okay, we lose to the Thunder, a 68 win first overall seed. You have nothing to hang your head on.
Papa Halls.
Yeah, I got Papa Halls real quick. I was like, you have nothing to hang your hat on that. That you just fired your coach, your GM. You have nothing to like be upset about if you lose this series to the Thunder. And I'm sitting there going, the Thunder roll 10 deep.
Yeah.
They have a good bench. They got a deep team. They're young. They're very skilled. They're very talented. The Nuggets have Jokic. Jamal, when he decides to play, is probably the best playoff player currently playing. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of hope Aaron Gordon and like Christian Brown show up. Mm-hmm. Michael Porter Jr., I don't even know what the fuck he's doing besides collecting like $40 million a year to suck ass.
He's been really absent this playoffs.
And so it's like, I kind of expected us to probably lose in 5. I thought we would like win one game. And then when we won game 1, I was like,
that was huge.
That's kind of a big like fuck you for the Nuggets to the Thunder to roll into OKC on a day's rest. They've had 8 days rest and win in the fashion they did. Mm-hmm. And then they got blown out in an NBA setting or history setting performance by giving up 87 first half points the next game. And I'm like, there's the Thunder.
And there it is.
And then all of a sudden the Nuggets win game 3 at home and have a 2-1 lead. And I'm like, you win one more at home, you win the series.
You're sitting pretty, yeah.
And they blew I think it was a 12-point fourth quarter lead in game 4 to lose by like 4. A game that if they won, they're up 3-1 going back to OKC. 2-2 going back to OKC. Another double-digit lead going into the fourth quarter in game 5. They don't score a single basket for like 10.5 minutes in game 5. And they lose by like 7 because of free throws, of course.
Yep.
I mean, it was like a tie game with a minute left. Yeah. And they lose by 7. Again, double-digit lead, but you don't score a basket for like 10.5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Go to game 6. They played their best game of the series, in my opinion. Tried to throw the game away at the end with how bad their defense is.
Yep.
And now they have a game 7 on Sunday afternoon in Oklahoma City. And it's one of those things that it goes... And I've talked with our buddy Brandon about this. And I've told other people. I think the winner of this series goes on to win the championship. The Wolves have a good team... But I think if the Nuggets beat the Thunder with how much... Well, Aaron Gordon's out now because he has a hamstring strain.
Is he really?
Well, he's in doubt. That's the Nuggets Gordon in doubt for Game 7 with a hamstring strain.
That happened late in the game last night. I did see him come up. He looked like he tweaked it.
Yeah. And so that's it. I
hadn't heard that until
that's a huge hurt for the Nuggets because he's a good defender. And
he's been having a great playoffs.
He can pop off on the offensive side.
He's been coming up clutch all playoffs.
And so it's like, we can win on Sunday without him, but we're going to need MPJ to actually, if he just scores 15 points and takes good shots, we win the game. Mm-hmm. Jokic and Murray are going to have to fucking run the best 1-2-man game. If Julian Strawther shows, like, we can win the game and shock the fucking NBA, but I'm like... Again, I don't really care about the NBA that much, so it's like it's not going to hurt if they lose. But as an NBA fan, I'm like, the NBA is going to try and push the Thunder through. I think they're going to just give them a shitload of foul calls and push the Thunder through, and then it'll be Thunder, Timberwolves, and the winner of that is going to win the whole thing. I don't think the Knicks or Pacers are deep enough to beat any of the 3 teams left in the West.
I think I would agree with that. Some of my takeaways just from like a eye test of watching like pretty much all of Game 5 and Game 6, and like I said, watching some of the earlier games in this series. The Nuggets are a good team this year and a potential NBA Finals team this year, but it's not going to look pretty if they go that far. They're a really frustrating team to watch because few of my takeaways, especially after last night's game, especially after Game 6, there are moments where, like, there are games throughout this series where Jokic plays out of his mind. Like, basically what he's done all regular season, which has put him in the MVP conversation yet again.
He should be the MVP.
He should be the MVP again. He'll have this, like, stereotypical Jokic game, MVP caliber. He'll score 30 or 40 points, have 15 to 20 rebounds, just be playing out of his mind, and then we'll lose.
Yep.
And then, he's like shooting well from the 3-point line. Like, he looks amazing, and then we'll lose. And there are other games where he scores a little bit less and he doesn't look necessarily like Mr. All-World. I have to put the team on my shoulders, and we'll kind of spread the wealth around a little bit. And then those are the games that we win. So I'm hoping that it goes more like that. Like, I would rather take in Game 7, have Jokic score like 24 and have 15 rebounds or whatever, and then spread the love a little bit more and have Murray play well, have especially MPJ play well. Hopefully Aaron Gordon can play, but if he can't, then we need Strother or whatever to step up.
Like Peyton Watson, or even Watson. Fucking Westbrook has been missing layups like it's his fucking job. So no wonder he's Brandon's favorite player. They just fucking like to throw layups and not make them.
Brandon just catching strays. So if we can have some of those key role guys step up and actually help him, when we play well as a team like that, we put ourselves in much better position to win.
Right.
Another thing that has been really frustrating for me to watch is our fucking defense is terrible.
Well,
like there are so many times throughout Game 6 where it didn't even have to be SGA, but any one of their guys up top would drive in, kind of draw some defenders to him, and go up for either a shot fake or a pass fake and dump it down to a guy right over our defense who cut along the baseline for an easy dunk. That happened over and over and over. And I'm like, do we just not want to fucking play defense on the baseline? I don't understand how we're just letting these guys cut right behind us. They just hit them with a perfect pass, easy layup, or easy dunk each time. I'm like, what are we fucking doing?
So we do this thing where, because SGA, I mean, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong.
He's amazing. He's an amazing scorer.
We do this thing, though, where we buy into having to, like, double team him.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, you don't have to trust Christian Brown on him.
Yeah.
He's gonna score his points.
He's gonna get his points off. Yeah. There's nothing much you can do about it.
It's kind of like you said, though. If the Nuggets supporting cast, like if Jamal goes for 40 and Jokic has 20, like last night, I think Jokic had 29, Jamal had 25, Christian Brown had 23.
Christian Brown played very well last night.
And I think like Aaron Gordon had 5, but I even think like MPJ might have had like 15 or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you win a game.
Yep.
Because guess what? If we double team SGA every time he touches the ball, like going to your point, someone's either cutting on the back door.
Yep.
And we're just like standing there in La La Land.
Yeah.
Or we're late to a rotation and they're making all their shots. And it's like, we have to go away from this, let's trap. Because if he's going to drop 35 on you, great. But make his other guys make the shots.
Yeah, yeah.
Let him beat you for a layup.
Right.
But make sure it's a contested 3 that you get the rebound. And it's like...
That was another thing, too, is all these guys that they're finding cutting along the baseline for these easy 2s. There were also numerous examples in Game 6 where they would find some open guy on the 3-point line, and he's just, like, uncontested. I'm like, does anyone want to fucking close out on him? Right. Like, what are we doing?
And I'm like, but that's the thing, is if you're going to double-team SGA, but you're going to leave a guy who torched you in Game 5 for 5
how threes, are we doing this?
He's going to eventually make him, and he made, like, 2 in a row, and I'm like...
Yeah. Someone want to guard him? Put a hand up? Maybe?
Quit just... I mean, they're going to call one of the 3 of you that are all around SGA for a foul anyways, because he just lives on the floor.
Yep.
Or he's gonna kick it out. They're gonna score an open 3.
Yeah,
like MPJ's. Like if his shoulder injury is really this bad, he shouldn't be playing. If he can't play defense and if he can't make a shot, he shouldn't be playing. You're hurting your team at that point in time.
So to your scoring point. So this is Game 6, a game in which the Nuggets won 119 to 107. Jokic had 29. 14 rebounds and 8 assists. So it's like a stereotypical Jokic game, but it's not 45 points and fucking 22 rebounds. You know what I mean? Murray puts up 25 and he has 8 rebounds and 7 assists. Really good game out of him. Christian Brown, 23 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. He was balling. And then Porter puts up 10. You'd like to see more out of that.
But it's better than 1 of 9 shooting.
Right. He was 2 of 5 from 3-point range. But then Strother comes in with 15 points.
He was hot.
And Westbrook throws in 8. You know, he's getting in there, getting some rebounds and stuff. Like Westbrook does have, I'll give him credit. He comes in and he has really clutch.
He's energy. He's got that.
It's energy and it's like energy. Rebound putbacks, like crazy putbacks that no one's fucking going in there for a rebound and all of a sudden he comes flying in and just grabs it and dunks it. You're like, all right, that's what I like to see. Like a little fucking offensive rebounding.
I love, as much as I don't like Westbrook, I love the energy he can
It's
bring.
always energy.
He's got good defense. He plays really hard.
He's just a fucking athlete, man. He just flies around out there.
I wish he would hit a few more shots because every time he's on the floor, if you watch, they just leave him wide open on the 3.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, you just need to make 2 of those in a row.
Right.
And they're going to have to change their whole defensive scheme up because they're going to have to start. Because you got the confidence now. It's like J.R. Smith.
Yeah, yeah.
You're going to shoot 1 of 20
like,
or you're going to shoot like 8 of 14.
Right.
And you're going to play really well.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm okay with him taking a wide open look. But I'm also like, dude, just drive the lane. Like, try and create chaos. You're kind of an agent of chaos out there at your age.
Yeah, yeah.
Just use that energy and just be an agent of chaos. Don't brick a 3.
I
just
like it.
Fly to the paint.
I like it a lot on the defensive end. He stresses me out on the offensive end sometimes when he drives into the paint because he comes in so out of control sometimes.
Yeah, like Brandon.
It's just
Literally like
he's coming in fucking hot and he's going to jump up in the air and he doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know if he's going to try and pass it or try and dunk it. He's in amongst 3 guys. It's like, all right. And sometimes it's like he just gets a charge foul or something like that. It's like, I would like a little bit more of a smart offensive play there, but like, I think with him, the pros still outweigh the cons in terms of what he's bringing. Like, he's not too much of a chaos
energy
agent.
Like
because
on the offensive side, you could go, we need you to bring the ball up, but we don't need you to shoot. We have other shooters on the team, so we're gonna use you and Jamal to help bring the ball up because if Gordon's healthy, you've got 4 players right there that can bring the ball up. You have Jokic, Gordon, Murray, and Westbrook that can all handle the ball and handle it well.
Although, to that point, that's another thing. So one of my takeaways, eye test from the last couple of games, the fucking turnovers. And
lazy.
And just the lazy turnovers, just errant passes. And in this last game, when we had this like comfortable lead where it's like, okay, the last like 3 or 4 minutes of this game, we're up, 12 or 14 or whatever it is.
6.
And all of a sudden it's 6. It's like, and you know what happened? It's like Murray comes down, he gets his fucking pocket picked down the other end of the court for a dunk. Aaron Gordon tries to bring the ball up. He gets his fucking pocket picked, another dunk. I'm like, hey, can we maybe get someone who can bring the ball up and not get the ball fucking stolen?
They had 3 turnovers in a minute.
Yeah, it was like boom, 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 turnover. And then OKC's just taking the ball down and fucking scoring. I'm like, this is really stressing me out, guys.
And then you have like Jamal doing behind the back passes that go all the way down, and it's just like
we don't need that. Don't get cute with it.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Play basketball to win the game. If you lose, you're done.
There's also like I've noticed the trend, at least in the last couple of games of games 5 and 6, has been game starts, OKC comes out hot as fuck. Like, they'll come out firing, they're hitting shots, they're flying around. Dude, them in transition on, like, fast breaks is like, insane. It's like a track meet. And they're coming out, and it'll be like 11 to fucking 2, like that, to start the game. And then the Nuggets, they come out a little lethargic. It's like little sloppy.
Because they haven't had a day rest in, like, 7 weeks.
And there's a little bit of, like, I'm kind of yelling at the TV, like, guys, do you want to, like, snap out of it and like focus up, because they're just kind of sloppy, they're lackadaisical, they're not really like securing rebounds, they're getting it kind of stripped from them and stuff, or they're like throwing passes where they get batted out of bounds or even stolen, and I'm like, you need to fucking buckle up. Like, this is the playoffs. If you
this isn't game 14.
Exactly. Like, this, they start the game way too lackadaisical for me, and then they have to then dig themselves out of this hole, and then it's like the back half of quarter 1 and all of quarter 2 is just like neck and neck, and these teams always end up, it's like tied at halftime, or it's like plus or minus 2 or 3.
Then quarter 3 rolls around, the Nuggets are like, hey, we're going to take a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter where we're not going to show up.
The Nuggets come out, they come out firing, they open up a big lead in the third quarter, and in the fourth quarter, OKC turns it back on, and then they bring a 15-point lead down to like a 6 or a 5-point lead. And then here we are neck and neck for the last, 5 minutes of the game. That's how games 5 and 6 went. That was the trend right there.
Well, it's just,
and so that's why it's like stressful as a Nuggets fan, because you're like, I feel like we have what it takes to make it past OKC and then maybe Minnesota, but I'd like to see it a little more cleaned up and like a little more.
This is
sharp.
The second round of the playoffs.
It looks a little sloppy to me right now. And
this will be your 14th game in these playoffs already.
Right. Yeah,
you need to have this shit cleaned up.
Yes.
Because I think Minnesota is a less talented team overall than Oklahoma City. I don't think they're as deep. But we clearly saw that they had our number last year. And we had a 20-point fourth quarter lead in the fourth quarter. And we threw that away in a game 7.
Yeah.
They're hungry. They want to win.
Yeah.
The Thunder are hungry. They want to win. Nuggets, you guys got to, like, this is going to have to be a real reality check where you're going to have to dig deep. And, I mean, we have the team that we could do it, but it's like I said, if we lose on on Sunday, I'm going to sit there and be like, what did you want us to do? Like, MPJ averaged 3 points a game through 14 playoff games.
I think if the Nuggets make a run, I would love to see them go at least to the Western Conference Finals. 'Cause first of all, I'd love to go see. We fucked up and didn't go to any of those playoff games in 2023 when they won, and then we didn't go to any playoff games last year. I thought they were going to make it farther, and they didn't. So this year, I'm kind of hoping for the same thing. I'm like, I'd love to go see them play a playoff game with this squad. I haven't seen them play a playoff game live. So I'm like, just win Game 7, make it to the Western Conference Finals. I'll buy a ticket to one of those fucking games. But I was going to say, I think if they are able to win the West, or even, crossing your fingers, win the whole thing this year, it would be more impressive this year than it was in 2023.
It
seems like it's going to be harder for them to do it this year.
I saw something where the year they won, they were the true favorites to win.
Yeah.
And they kind of rolled through everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, they 4-0'd. I don't even remember who they played.
Me either. I don't really remember the matchups, but
I know they 4-0'd their first round matchup, which I think was the Timberwolves. Okay. I think they 4-0'd or 4-1 them. 4-2'd the Suns in the second round. 4-0'd the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, and then 4-1 the Heat in the finals.
In the championship. Yeah.
And it's like that was a pretty easy. I mean, for the Nuggets that year, that was an easy run.
Yeah, and going into that playoffs too, I think. Yeah, you're right. Like the general consensus was like, the favorites are the Nuggets.
If they stay healthy and play their brand of basketball, they should win. Yeah. And this year, it's like
they're a playoff team for sure. But as far as making it, like winning the West or making it all the way to the finals and winning the finals,
right? There's been little to no talk about the Nuggets being a favorite. I think right now they have the 6th best odds to win.
Yeah,
and it's like
that makes
Thunder,
sense.
Timberwolves. I think then it went Knicks, Pacers, Nuggets, Celtics.
Okay,
and I'm like. That makes sense, but you write the Nuggets off. Everyone wrote the Nuggets off to lose to the Clippers, or a lot of people had them losing to the Clippers, and it becomes one of those.
Beating the Clippers in round 1 was no easy feat. That's a good Clippers team.
Yeah,
who
that's
was playing
a good
really
Clippers
well.
team.
And you had a healthy Kawhi who was like showing people
and a healthy James Harden,
Kawhi of old, where people were like, "Oh yeah," I think people kind of forgot Kawhi is a fucking amazing player when he's healthy.
And it's like, but think about this, right? You just say you switch Kawhi and MPJ, the Nuggets probably sweep the Thunder.
Oh, yeah.
They sweep the Clippers. They would sweep whoever. They sweep the Timberwolves. They'd probably sweep whoever.
Oh, yeah.
The Nuggets are that team that's like 1 or 2 players away from just being the most absolute gross team out there.
Yeah.
And it's like...
It really goes to show that in the NBA, that old adage of like the super team, you need a big 3, it's kind of true. Because if you have 2 guys...
Or you need depth.
If you have 2 guys, you're like 75-80% of the way there.
Right.
If you have 3 guys who are like fucking those dudes, you got a pretty good shot to win. Or it's more like you have 1, maybe 2 superstars and then a really good supporting cast. That's like what we had in 2023.
But it's like the Thunder too. You have SGA, who is like a certified superstar.
Yeah.
You have Jalen Williams, who's kind of like the number 2 on the team. He's not like, an ultra high name up there on a lot of people's lists, but he's like... you're going to get 15 to 25 points out of him every game. You have a Chet Holmgren who, again, probably 15 to 20 points, despite how skinny he is.
Hutchinson or whatever is the other guy, the lefty, that big, tall, white guy they have. Is it Hutchinson?
No, Hartenstein.
Hartenstein. I knew it started with an H.
But again, you have 2
well.
7-footers. You have a little bit thicker one, not as maybe offensive-minded as like a Chet Holmgren is.
Yeah.
But then you have like Dort and Caruso. Like they have so many
Caruso
players.
comes in and will fucking bang threes too. Like
right. They have Aaron Wiggins. They just have a really deep team.
Yeah.
And they play well together. They play for each other. Mm-hmm. And you're kind of like, okay, this is why.
That's why they won.
This is why they went 68-14.
Yeah.
This is why they 4-0'd a 48-win team, Memphis, as easy as they did. Because of the amount of depth they have. They roll 10 people deep, and the Nuggets half the time are rolling Jokic, Murray, Gordon, and Brown 42 to 46 minutes a game, and it's like eventually they're going to break.
Yeah.
And,
what's really making me nervous for Game 7 is hearing that Aaron Gordon's doubtful because he's been so clutch for us in the playoffs, in the Clippers series and in this series.
Yeah, he's been clutch, but it's one of those things, it's like, okay, we can replace his output. I don't think you can replace his mentality and that energy that he can bring.
I'm a real big fan of his, man.
He's the true Nugget.
Yeah.
He is like...
I'm not going to lie, I did not watch much of his career because he was with Orlando for years, right? Wasn't he?
I think he was with Orlando when they made it to the finals.
Yeah, and I did not watch much of his career in Orlando. I mean, I saw him in the dunk contest a couple times,
which he got robbed of.
I knew of him. But then since he's been in Denver, I'm like, this was such a great pickup for Denver. He's a fucking great. He's perfect for our team. Perfect. Like,
if we could get a small forward. So I've seen a lot of things in the offseason that Kevin Durant would be traded here.
Oh, shit.
So you'd have
Kevin
Jokic,
Durant.
Jamal, Kevin Durant, and I'm hoping you'd keep Aaron Gordon.
Wow.
So imagine that, and you keep Christian Brown somehow. You just get rid of MPJ and like a first-round pick or whatever.
Holy fuck, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I'm trying to think what
the
that
amount
would
of
look like.
scoring that would be done.
I'd have to start rooting for Kevin Durant again.
So that's what I joked to Brandon about. I'm like, yeah, I have to be a Russell Westbrook fan this year just because he's on the Nuggets.
Yeah.
I'm like, out of all the years he could win a championship, this would be the only one I'd be okay with.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, I'm super stoked that, and as I called it, that the Timberwolves 4-1 of the Lakers, and that the Lakers fucking suck. That's great. It's just an amazing feeling.
Yeah, you hate the Lakers.
It's great to know, as we're currently speaking, it's a 31-point game. The Knicks are up on the Celtics with just under 4 minutes left in the third. So the Celtics probably aren't going to repeat.
It looks like they're going to be
That's
out,
a great feeling. I don't really have any issues with the Knicks or the Pacers out of the East.
Me
I
neither,
don't really have any issues with whoever comes out of the West.
It's honestly kind of cool to see the Knicks actually, like, as a contending playoff team for the first time in who knows how long. Because, like, the Knicks decades ago were like a perennial powerhouse in the NBA. And then for just almost as long as I've been an adult watching NBA basketball, they've been pretty bad. Year in, year out, they've been pretty not great.
Besides the Giants, it's always fun to just see New York teams suck.
Yeah.
Just because it's like...
because those fans get so fucking mad, too. And
it's so cocky.
Talk
and
about
arrogant.
a giant sports media landscape, too.
Oh, yeah, the
my
biggest
God.
one.
If you are on any major sports team in New York, like if you have
That's
a
why
poor
Melo went there.
performance, it's like... they are just on your ass.
It's a butt fumble.
It is just relentless there. So it's like, it's kind of, boom or bust. Like if you go there and you have a really great career, you play well, you win a championship or whatever, you're a fucking king in the sports world. But if you go there and you have a bad career and you're a bust, you're on a bad team, it's rough, man. They're fucking on your ass.
Or you're not there very long.
Yeah,
And like Sam Darnold, he was there like 2 years and they're like, you're a fucking bust.
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez, you're a bust. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, but I mean, I don't really have like a problem with...
Did you watch any of the, speaking about the West still, did you watch any of like Rockets, Warriors, or any of the Timberwolves and Warriors series?
So I watched a little bit.
Because you and I were kind of talking going in, and I agree. Like, I would be concerned going into the playoffs playing Golden State. Like,
so
they come in as a what? They were the 7th seed.
Right.
And it's like,
so
they're not really a 7th seed.
They had the easiest first-round matchup against Houston. I think Houston was kind of a fraud 2 seed.
Yeah.
They're just an ultra young team that they had a good regular season, but like their youth showed, and they were like, you're not ready for
I don't think I watched
the
Houston
spotlights.
at all.
Then when Steph got hurt in game 2 or game 3, whatever game he got hurt in, I was like, that series over.
Yep.
Butler and Draymond can't carry the young guys at Golden State to this.
'Cause
if Steph was in the game,
yeah,
that series isn't over in 5. That series is probably a 6 or 7 game series, and the Warriors definitely have a shot to win.
100%. Because Steph is still that fucking guy. Like, he is still a bona fide superstar.
He can come in and drop 10 threes in a row on you, and all of a sudden you're down double digits.
And
quickly.
him and Draymond, along with Steve Kerr, like, those guys have a championship mentality. They know what it takes to go win NBA titles. They've played in how many playoff games over the course of the last, 8 to 10 years? They know what it takes to get it done. And having a guy like Jimmy Butler, like, you're right. If Steph's not hurt, they could make a run.
Yeah.
But then as soon as he got hurt, and then it's like, oh, he's going to miss several games. I'm like, eeh.
Yeah,
I don't know about their chances, now. And then sure enough, that series
was over. And so it was just one of those things. It's like, I don't like injuries, but everyone's banged up at the end of an 82-game season.
Yeah.
Like, it's like hockey, right? People are like, oh, well, we were injured. It's like everybody's dealing with something. Yeah. Same with football.
It also
everyone's
sucks
dealing
too,
with
like,
something. It's just...
anyone who's ever fucking pulled their hamstring before, how frustrating of an injury that is. Because it's like... obviously you don't have a torn ACL, you don't have a broken arm. Like it's not like a big major injury, but it's so
I don't know.
debilitating when you're trying to play something like basketball where you're just trying to run up and down the court. You're like, I can't run.
I think having a torn ACL is almost better though, because you get the surgery and then they're like,
you're
hey,
on
you're
the
just
process
doing
of
your
healing
rehab.
now. Yeah. Whereas
and
like
then it's one of those things.
The hamstring is just like you just gotta wait, man.
Right.
You just gotta rest.
Because like ACL, I mean, think about it. You do the rehab on your ACL, and the doctor's like, everything looks good. You feel good.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be, you got to trust it and go out and perform, and
Right.
it could, you could re-tear it or not. Your hamstring's like, oh, it feels great and all of a sudden you go to push off and it's just like,
oh, there goes again.
Yeah. And you're like, I mean, that's what I did. I tore my hamstring playing softball.
Oh, fuck.
And, I literally kept trying to play on it all season long. And then
you just can't run.
I sat out for 5 months to, from our winter season to our next season. And it show up and I'm like, it feels fine. But my fat, lazy ass did nothing but sit down for 5 straight months. And first game, I'm like, oh, it does not feel good.
Yep.
And I was literally hurt the whole next year.
I'm very cognizant of pulling muscles because I have so many times like throughout my like sports career that like, you and I, we're in our fucking 30s. Well, are you 30 yet? Or are you still like fucking
I'm
17?
like 14. I turned 30 last year.
Okay,
remember?
so you are 30. All right.
Remember we spent $48,000 to go somewhere for my birthday?
Yeah. We went to fucking China or wherever we
went to the Maldives.
That's a little inside joke for what we were talking
sorry
about
about
before,
that. If you're one of our friends,
podcast.
you'll get it, but none of our friends support us, so.
Where the fuck were we going with that? I got really derailed.
Pulling our muscles.
Oh, yeah. I'm very cognizant. I'm like, what I was talking about is like, you and I are in our 30s now. We work office jobs. Like, when was the last time you had to sprint outside of softball? Like, when was the last time you had to sprint anywhere?
Well, if I don't have adrenaline going, I don't remember the last time I had to sprint. But usually if I'm sprinting, I had adrenaline.
Yeah.
So my body doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like loose. It's free. It's
Like, I was thinking about that the other day, and I'm like, I don't have to run. Like, it's so weird going from being an athlete where you're running full speed all the time. You're playing football, you're playing basketball, whatever it is, baseball. You're running all the time. You're running wind
fast
sprints.
starts,
You're like,
fast stops.
Yeah, you're running 40s, whatever. And then you stop playing sports and you go like work a job and you're like, I haven't run full speed and I don't even know how long. So anyway, I'm very cognizant of like, if I'm going to be in a position where I'm going to like go play basketball or go play in a softball game or whatever, I'm like, I am going to fucking stretch because I hate being in that position where you haven't stretched enough and you go to sprint and you're like, fuck, I just pulled my hamstring.
Yep.
And now it's weeks of me just waiting on my hamstring to get better.
And then as soon as it feels good, I'm going to try something again, and it's
Dude,
gonna
one time in, I think it was over the summer, we were doing like conditioning for football and we were doing like, or 7-on-7 or something. I fucking pulled both hamstrings at the same time. I was like, well, this is the most frustrating fucking injury that's ever happened to me. I'm like, I guess I'm not running for the rest of the summer. Can't fucking move.
I mean,
hamstrings are pulled.
still at softball. This is how I think I tore it, though, because I would stretch, and I'm usually like the only one on the team that stretches. And maybe I'm not doing a good enough stretching routine or whatever.
I have to stretch.
But like even just swinging in the batter's box, because I swing with a lot of power. I swing to hit the ball really hard.
You're going to fucking pull something.
And my hamstrings get tight. The hamstring I tore gets really tight.
Yeah.
And then I like go to run, and I'm like, okay, it's my hamstring's sitting there like stretching and barely holding on.
Yeah.
So I like get to second, and I'm like rounding first, and I'm like, I could get to third. But I'm not going to be playing the rest of the year. So I stop at second and I like stretch it out. And I'm like, it's like the fast starting where it's like that first initial just. Because I think when I tore it, I was just wearing shoes playing on the dirt. And I went to like fast push. And then, of course, this was probably after like 14 years of not doing anything. And my foot just kept sliding and my hamstring was just like.
Yep.
And then I like finished the run out. And I'm like, oh my God.
It's the
like,
worst, dude. I fucking hate it.
And now it's like if I feel the pain, I kind of just ease up, and I'm like, you can run on a tight hamstring.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not gonna like go above and beyond right now. And then it usually stretches out as the game goes on. But yeah, I can just be like, kind of like you, where it's like I do something and I'm like, oh, and I gotta just be like, next time I throw, I'm gonna just like shot put it.
Yeah,
it's just not gonna hurt, or I'm gonna like
throwing's a big one. Like if I when I would throw, because I don't play with you guys, I just watch. But when I would throw with Taya to get her warmed up, I'm like, we need to start kind of close, and I'm gonna really warm up my shoulder. Because if I start way far away from you and I'm just fucking yanking that bitch over there, I'm gonna fuck my shoulder up so bad.
Like you'll tear your shoulder so fast.
yeah.
Or you'll throw and you'll be like, oh, that felt good. And then you'll get home and you'll be like,
And you're like, oh my God, why is my shoulder?
I can feel my heartbeat in the front, the back, and my armpit. And you're like, oh, I'm just dying.
Oh, man. So anyway, Steph pulling his hammy. That was bad for the Warriors.
Really bad for. Hopefully, it's not bad for the Nuggets with AG. Hopefully, he can play.
I know. That makes me really nervous.
If not, hopefully we get the job done. He can just get a little bit of extra rest and be ready to go for the Timberwolves, which that would be another great series in the West. I mean, I
think if we match up against them, it's going to be a hell of a series because they fucking had our number last year.
Yeah, if we beat them last year, I think we would have gone into the championship. I think we would have beat the Mavericks.
Any thoughts on? I didn't watch much of Pacers Cavs. I watched a little bit of like the last couple of games.
That was 100% the shock of the playoffs.
I mean, they got 4-1, and that's the number 1 seed in the West.
Now again, I think they had a little bit of injuries with like Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, and
Donovan Mitchell was fighting through some stuff. He was definitely banged up.
like I just said, everybody's banged up. Everybody's going through shit this late in the season. You can't use that as an excuse. The Pacers have a decent team. They're not like, I mean, Tyrese Halliburton's like a good point guard, but he's like, the dude might be like a 1 of 5 shooting and like not be on the floor. But you got like Pascal Siakam.
My former Aggie.
Turner.
Shout out to Pascal.
They've got a deep enough team that they can like compete. And this is their second year in the Eastern Conference Finals, like back-to-back years. And it's kind of like a under the radar thing because everyone last year was just guzzling down the fucking Celtics, just giving the old Glock 9000. And then this year, I mean, everyone's guzzling on OKC, but I think whoever comes out the West is just going to be too powerful of a team, and they're just going to go through the East.
I think I agree with that. Yeah. And I think that's true for like as long as I've been watching NBA basketball since I've been an adult, like the Western Conference has always been the stronger conference.
Yeah, I mean,
like
think about
overall,
it. When LeBron was in the East, they called it the Leastern Conference.
Well, he pretty much ran the East for like a decade.
Because there was no one in the East.
It was just like you got to go through LeBron and whatever.
They're looking at the East, and it's like a 39-win team is the second seed. You look at the West, and they're like a 39-win team is the last place in the conference.
Right.
And the 8-seed team is a 68-win team, and they're like, how are they the 8-seed team at 68 wins? And everyone's like, I don't know, that's just the fucking West.
It was so funny. You'd go to like the Eastern Conference playoff standings, and there's like, if you go more than 4 teams down, everyone's just below 500.
Right. I mean, you go to the West, and you have like 4 teams that are not in the playoffs that are all above 500.
Right, exactly, yeah. That's how it's been for like as long as I've been paying attention. It's starting to get a little more evened out, I feel like, in the last couple of years. But, I mean, for the longest time, it's always been the West is the stronger conference.
Yeah, it'll probably stay that way. I mean, think of all the super names in the West compared to the East.
Yeah.
The East, I think, has some of the younger teams that are up and coming. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, like Steph, KD, Luka, LeBron, Jokic, Murray, SGA, Harden, Leonard, Durant, Booker.
That is true. They're all in the West.
Wembanyama, Chris Paul, Zion Williamson.
When he plays.
Well, yeah, the 4 games he plays. I don't know if I said SGA, but SGA and everyone on the Thunder.
And the Mavericks just won the lottery, and they're going to presumably pick Cooper Flagg, and he'll be in Dallas.
Right. So think of all, and then you go like the East, and it's like if you're not on the Celtics or the Knicks, there's no like superstars in the East.
Yeah, I mean Donovan Mitchell, I would say is a superstar.
Yeah. I mean, there's good players too on other teams too. Like I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but like the Heat, I mean, you have good players, but not great players. The Magic are a young team. Like Banchero could be a superstar in the league, but he's just young. Trae Young's pretty good with the Hawks, but no supporting cast, so he can't really do anything. I mean, LaMelo Ball's good on the Hornets, but they're always going to be like a 20-win team, so you don't have to worry about them. The Wizards suck. The Bulls don't really have anybody. The Pistons have Cade Cunningham, and they're another young team that's like building. So it's just like they've got a lot of young talent, but no one that's like
who's reached like the bona fide
burst into like that
status,
superstardom. Yeah. They're not like an SGA right now, where it's like, holy shit, this guy's like. I mean, I guess they have Giannis, but he wants out of Milwaukee.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
I've heard a lot of talk about him possibly going down to San Antonio.
Interesting.
So you'd have 7'9" Wembanyama and 7'4" Giannis.
Fuck.
Just smacking balls to each other.
I'm not gonna lie. I would like to see the Spurs get back to a point where they're a playoff contending team again. Because when I was younger, I used to be a big Spurs fan. Before I was like, but I think I've told this on the podcast before. But back in the day, like when I first started rooting for sports teams, it was mainly like specific players. And so, like for baseball,
I mean, you couldn't root against Tim Duncan.
Yeah, well, for baseball, it was like I was obsessed with Albert Pujols, so I was a Cardinals fan. In football, I loved Brett Favre and a bunch of those Packers guys, so I was a Packers fan. Bart Starr at the helm. And then in basketball, I loved Tim Duncan. He was like my favorite player for the longest time. And I loved Manu Ginobili, and I loved Tony Parker.
I hated Ginobili. Something about his face, dude. When every time he touched the ball, he was wide open for a corner three. And it was like, guys, just stop him.
Dude, that team. So anyway, I was a huge fan of that core Spurs team that for 15 years just was like on runs. And ever since all three of those guys retired, and then Popovich has been still there up until the last few weeks. He's had some health scares. I think he's had a couple of mini strokes.
Yeah, and he stepped down
recently,
now.
And so they just announced that he stepped down. So I hope Popovich is okay and he takes care of his health. But that's just legendary Hall of Fame coach, obviously, right there. But ever since those guys have left, they've just been kind of down in the dregs. They've been like one of the worst teams in not only the West, but like one of the worst teams in the league for several seasons.
I think
that's how they ended up with a guy like Wembanyama, as they just were fucking terrible.
I think their biggest drop off was when they let Kawhi go.
Yeah.
When they moved on from him, you moved on from your franchise corner piece.
Right.
And now you have your new one in Victor, but it's like, even when they had Kawhi, they were still competing. Mm-hmm. And so I think, but again, that's kind of the cycle of sports, right? That's what the cycle of sports is supposed to be. You go through your ups and your, think of like the Lakers when they had Kobe and Powell and like Derek Fisher and all those guys. Then they went through years where it was just Kobe and Powell and they couldn't do anything. Like they just didn't have it.
It's usually,
and then they had to rebuild a little bit.
It's usually what will happen is like if you have 3 or 4 guys, or 3 or 4 or even 5 guys who are a really core group with like a couple of superstars. What'll happen is like those core guys, you have a lot of success for 2, 3, 4 seasons, whatever. A lot of those core role player guys will like everyone else in the league realizes how great they are and how valuable they are, and then those guys go elsewhere and kind of try and be their own superstar on a different team. And then what you're left with is like 1 or 2 of the guys from the old crew, and they just can't, as good as they might be, they just can't quite keep the team at the same level. We see that time and time again.
And you only have like prime windows for so long. Like Jokic and Murray are still in their prime windows, where it's like, this is when you kind of have to sell out your franchise for a few years to try and win it all.
And this is what you and I have
another
talked about,
championship or two, and then embrace the rebuild when Jokic is 35 and he's just like, I'm done. I'm going to go ride my horses.
Right. We got to take advantage of these prime years right now where he's MVP caliber fucking every single year. Murray's playing out of his mind. It's like we need to take advantage of this and make runs now.
Because I would say the NBA is one of the easier ones to kind of retool your team because it's only, 13-man rosters. So it's a little bit easier to retool your team. It's just about getting the players that are good enough and that fit the system and that just can grow. Because, some players, if you put, a De'Aaron Fox on the Nuggets instead of Jamal, he probably balls out. Mm-hmm. Same as Jamal. It's like, but if you put Jamal on the Kings, does he play as good without,
Right.
When you take the yin and the yang away from each other, what do they become?
Right.
And so it's interesting to, look at it that way, but I don't know. I'm sure the Spurs will be back. They need to get Wembanyama healthy because he's just like Embiid right now. I was talking with Brandon about this last night. The dude's played 68 games is the most he's ever played in a season.
Some of those stats I can't even recall a lot of them off the top of my head right now, but I've seen SportsCenter will put them on Instagram towards the end of the regular season, especially when he was out hurt again this year. And they would break down how much money he's made from his contract and versus how many games he's actually played.
Right.
It's insane. He's actually sat out more often than he's actually played. I think that's statistically proven since he's been in the NBA. He has sat more than he has actually played, and they've paid him a gajillion fucking dollars.
Right. And everyone gives him the gold Glock 9000 too, and it's like he's a free throw merchant, and he's not bad. I'm not saying he's not a good player, but the dude's not a Jokic type player, and everyone says he is, and then it's he played 21 games.
Right. And that's the thing that I think I listen to a lot of Bill Simmons commentary on NBA. He's like a huge fucking NBA guy and has been for decades. But he's got like a threshold of games where he's like, I don't even consider you for MVP contention unless you've played X amount of games.
I feel like you have to play like 70-plus games to be an MVP conversation.
Yeah, it's like you can't be playing between 30 and like 50 games and be trying to be in the MVP conference. It's like there's 82 games in the regular season, dude. Like you need to be part of being an MVP and part of being the best player on the team and one of the superstars in the NBA is being available to play and playing consistently, playing all year. And then when you're on, like that's why it makes it more impressive when you have these guys like LeBron or Steph who for years and years in a row, their team is making deep playoff runs and they're playing most of the regular season, if not all of it, and all of these deep fucking 2-3 series long playoff seasons. It's like that's a lot of basketball over the course of, you go to the fucking finals 8 years in a row, whatever it is. It's a lot of fucking basketball, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it's just
versus Embiid's like I've sat out 60% of the games I've been eligible to play.
Well, and I think that's where it's frustrating. Like I kind of talked with Brandon about this last night too. Is like, okay, maybe 82 games is a little too much.
I think it's too much.
Maybe we dial it back to like 72 or something like that. And you could do that same thing with hockey. Hockey players don't bitch and moan. They're like basketball players. These are real men out here playing a real sport. And it's like, but if you dial it back to 72 games, you could try and get rid of the back-to-backs so that what you do is you tell the fans, hey, unless they're actually hurt, they're not allowed to sit out a game. I mean, think about it. Say you and Taya had two boys and they're, 10 years old. You had two 10-year-old twins. And they're like, Dad, let's go to a basketball game. We want to go see LeBron and Luka play Jokic and Murray.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you're like, okay, let me look at Lakers Nuggets tickets. And you spend $800 on 4 tickets for the family to go to a game, expecting to watch Jokic and Murray play LeBron and Luka. But they're like, oh, it's a LeBron and Luka rest night. They'll be on the bench. They're not even going to play.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going, I just spent $800 just on 4 tickets for a 3-hour game or 3 hours of entertainment in which they just decided they didn't want to play for rest reasons at game 43 of the season.
Yeah.
One, that's an awful thing to put out as your product.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, in the NFL they rest. And I'm like, in the NFL they only rest in week 17 or 18.
Right.
When because they already locked up the first.
Yeah, we have the first seed in the playoffs. We don't need to win this game. Whatever.
And it's at any point in time in the NFL, you could literally just get your head taken off,
or tear your ACL, or whatever.
Break your back, break your arm. In the NBA, someone looks at you on the floor and you flop and fall to the ground, and you get a court burn. That's the worst that happens to you. And so it's like it's different. I agree though, but most of the time those tickets at the end of the season are pretty cheap in the NFL, anyways, because everything's already written into the fucking stars. Mm-hmm. And if they're not, and you got those tickets, then it's going to be a fucking hell of a game.
Yeah.
This fucking shit is just crazy.
You need another Halls,
no,
man.
I got one.
Oh, you got one.
And so I'm like, move it down to 72 and then say, hey, unless you're actually injured, there's no such thing as a rest day. Yeah. And if you're injured, why don't we start like implementing shit? Because it's not fair to the fans to have to pay money to go see people play and then no one play.
Yeah, and like the people you paid the money for, because this is a league built on superstars.
Right.
Like they build their league around the face of all these franchises are these superstar players. Your Jason Tatum's, your Nikola Jokic, your Lukas, your LeBrons, whoever, Anthony Edwards, like whoever it is. So when the fans buy tickets, they're coming to watch those guys play. Like, yeah, sure, if you're a real ball knower, I hate using that term, but like if you're a ball knower, yeah, you know who all these role guys are, and you're going to still enjoy the game probably. But you're not
there to watch Julian Strawther.
That's not why the fucking ticket prices are, what they are, whatever they may be.
It's because LeBron's making $63 million a year, and you got to pay his salary.
Like that's who I want to come see fucking play. Then I want to see LeBron on the court.
And I got in this argument with Brandon too. I was like, there's no excuses for players to be missing games or anything. And he goes, you just don't know what athletes go through. And I'm like, I'm not saying I know what athletes go through. I'm saying there's no reason for them to miss a game if they're healthy.
Yeah. Because also, if you think about it, it's your job.
Right. I can't.
Your literal job is to show up and play basketball games. So why are you sitting out?
Millions of dollars.
And nothing's wrong
to play a game. He goes, you realize how hard it is on their bodies? And I'm like, I'm not saying
I get it.
It's not physically taxing.
But that's your job.
But you train for that. That is your job. That is like a police officer saying, I don't want to be shot at. Then you probably should quit your job because it is in the job description that you have to be.
You're going to be in these positions. Yeah.
Right. And fuck me. This one's bad. And it's like, that's your fucking job. Suck it up, Buttercup. And they're like, no. And it's like...
Well, and it's like, when you hear all these stories about, LeBron spends $1 million a year on maintenance for his body, and he's got all these, like, medical treatments and these cold tubs and these treatments, whatever. Then for him to be taking these rest days, it's like, all right. Like, this is literally what you do for a living, and you're spending however much money, and you have all these fucking trainers and nutritionists and all this kind of stuff. When fans buy tickets to Lakers games, they want to show up and see you play. Right. I get that you're 40 years old or however old he is.
No excuse if you still want to be
playing. But
it's
like, this is your fucking job. Like, it's like if you and I, unless we're sick or, there's something going on in our family, we got to be at the hospital for something, whatever. We can't just be like, IM or email our boss like, hey, I'm not working today. And like, is something wrong? I'm just not feeling it. Like, okay, well, I don't really give a fuck. It's your job.
Hey, you gonna take a PTO day? No.
I'm
just taking a rest day.
No, I'm just hanging out. Just taking a rest day.
All right, well, you're fired. And you're like, right. Oh.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's like,
but they're like, I'm taking a rest day, and the whole NBA is like, and it's just like, I get fed up with it because
I know, I get it, and I totally understand, and this is why I have said this before too on the podcast. Basketball is my favorite sport. It's one of my favorite sports to watch. It's one of my favorite sports to play. I love it, but the NBA product is
it's worse than soccer.
It's not an ideal. It's not an ideal product. There's a lot of things that I would fix. They play too long of a regular season. I hate the way the game is officiated. I hate the way that we've just all kind of let these superstars dictate the way we call games by just calling these ticky-tack fouls and rewarding them and giving them free throws. It's like if the refs, I wish that just one day the NBA would just meet with all of their officiating crews and just be like, on these, and like go through film and be like, on these types of plays where there's clearly zero fucking contact and this guy goes up and he flails and falls down the ground, just look at him.
But what they need
There's no contact, buddy. Like, I'm not calling a foul and rewarding you with 2 free throws, but that if your SGA shoots fucking 95% or whatever, he's just going to come up there and just bang 2 free throws. That's one of the things that we've always bitched about with James Harden is the guy just goes in, draws fouls, just a free throw merchant, and scores fucking 25 points off of free throws. That, like, what, half of those were real fouls, maybe?
Not even.
So it's like, why are we letting these guys dictate the way we're officiating this game by rewarding them for clearly calling fouls on things that are obviously flops? It's like, just look at them and be like, buddy, that's a flop. There's no contact there.
Get up, ball's going that way.
Yeah, like, you need to get back on defense. Don't look at me.
But I mean, think about this, right? You could, like, go to clear yourself. Yeah. And the defender whips his head back, and the ref immediately just blows
they just assume there was contact.
And then it's like there wasn't like LeBron. He's the best flopper there is. Someone goes to clear, and they're not even he's on the bench like watching. He's like, everyone's like, why'd LeBron fall over? And the rest like, wait a second. And they're like, all right, well, it's offensive foul, ball going that way,
dude.
But it's like this is one of my favorite basketball arguments is going. Today's generation of basketball players couldn't play in the 90s, and everyone's like, yeah, they could. They're way more athletic. And I'm like, I mean, there's certain players that are definitely going to be a more athletic version of a player. But you're telling me that Shaq's not going to just absolute body you when you try and dunk over him?
Bro, Shaq was a fucking animal back in the day.
Like, it used to take them literally like throwing someone to the ground, and then the ref was kind of like, oh, yeah, that's a foul.
Yeah.
You guys are flopping when you don't even get touched. Back then, you were allowed to body people.
When did this happen? Do you know if there's like a year when it like started to transition?
I mean, it was probably close to like the 2010s, maybe a little bit after the 20. So. It was when LeBron joined the league, that's for sure.
Well, he joined in 2003. He's been around a long time.
But he's like the flop merchant out there.
Well, here's the thing.
LeBron's a pussy.
If I'm an NBA player, I'm gonna flop too. Why wouldn't you? That's the way they call it, and I'm gonna draw fouls that way, and I'm gonna hit free throws, and I'm gonna score thousands of more points over the course of my career than I normally would. So I can't blame them. It's not the player's fault. it's the officiating. It's their fault for rewarding flopping by calling fouls.
I will still.
If they would just stop calling those fouls, then the NBA would adjust and those players would stop flopping. You would see it happen.
But I will still say it's still the players' fault because they're the ones that are trying to sell all this shit.
Yeah.
And think about it. If you're a ref, right, there's 3 of them out there. They're trying to watch 10 players.
Yeah.
And they're depending on the position, because they're always in like a triangle.
And there are certain times where, and this happens in any sport, seeing it live, you think there's contact, you think something happened, you watch it on replay, it's like, we missed that.
Or the angle you're at.
Yeah.
But now it's like there's challenges for penalties or like fouls, but it's like, that's not a foul.
Right.
Like, you barely touched him.
Right.
Like, Jokic got called for a foul last night on Chet Holmgren. When Holmgren ran in for the layup,
literally didn't
barely grazed
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Like, like their jerseys
specifically
like
stopped and
swooshed by
tried
each other.
getting out of his way.
Right. And Chet fell to the ground, and they gave him the foul. And I'm like,
Infuriated watching that.
that's not a foul.
It's not a foul.
And so, yes.
Just because he went up and and then flops down to the ground,
but then
and acts like he got hit. It's like that he didn't actually get hit.
But then there's Jokic, who's literally getting smacked and poked and like punched and everything, and the refs are just like,
but because he's a big bruising guy, they just let it go. Yeah.
But he is the face of the NBA right now. He is the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And they're just like, you can punch the shit out of him. But Shea trips on his own foot, and it's a flagrant on you guys. And it's like, yes.
There was one that they called on the Nuggets where Shea literally just like tripped and fell.
Right.
They're like, that's somehow a foul. I think they called it on Jokic. I'm like, he literally just tripped and fell.
Right. And so, yes, I agree to your point where it is the officials' fault for officiating that way.
Yeah,
and it's the league's fault for doing that. And it's the league's fault for becoming softer, but it's also the players that are just playing that way. Yeah. Like, think about it.
Because it's totally changed. Like, that is the way basketball is played now, at least at the professional level.
And think about it, though. Like, and that's
Whereas
the thing.
It didn't used to be like that.
In college, there's not a lot of flopping that goes on.
No, not really.
Because if you flop, the ball's going the other way, and you're the guy that's going to get burned.
That's where I was going with this. Is like, we've talked about this in the podcast plenty of times, but I am a college first type of guy in terms of the 2 sports that I like to watch, which is football and basketball. Because at the college level, you have a couple of key differences, especially speaking about basketball.
Basketball for sure.
Far fewer games and way less flopping. It's just it's a better product. It's a more exciting game to watch because there's less games, which means more games, or every game means more.
Right.
Because you can't go on a 4, 5, 6 game slide and still be in contention at the end of the year. It's like you only have 35 games or whatever it is. Maybe not even that much, like 30 games.
I think it's like 32 to 33.
Yeah. Whereas in the NBA, it's like if it's an 82 game season, it's like you tune in on the regular season and like they clearly look like a runner at the beginning of a marathon. They're like, I got a long way to go. I'm going to conserve energy. You know what I mean?
Hey,
it's like
you got 30 laps to go, and they're like, I'm just going to really take the first half of this.
I'm going to ease into this. Yeah.
And then even the second half, depending where I'm at, I'm going to probably just keep coasting. And then like the last lap, though.
Right. Then it's on.
If I need to. Yeah. Sometimes I don't need to because my coasting was just better than everyone else's coasting. Yeah. I'm just going to coast until the playoffs, which will be the final of the marathon that I'll run in 2 days.
I've always told, like, I pay very close attention to college football and the NFL because the NFL has far fewer games. Like, it's different than basketball and baseball where they just play less games, so every game means more. I pay really close attention to those. College basketball, I really only start paying attention like conference tournament time, and then like March Madness.
Right.
NBA, I barely watch the regular season. I might turn on a couple games here and there while I'm cooking dinner or whatever.
I don't think I watched a single NBA regular season game.
I don't think I watched a start to finish game at all. Maybe just bits and pieces of games here and there. I kind of check the standings, watch highlights on SportsCenter from time to time. Keep my finger on the pulse. I want to know who the good teams are, whatever. Playoff. I don't start even paying attention until playoffs. I'm like, because none of the rest of it matters. It's like the NBA's regular season is just a wash. It's like, why would I watch this product?
The Nuggets were 10-11 to start their season.
Yeah.
And no one gives a shit about it now that they're one game away from possibly going home or going to the Western Conference Finals.
As long as you're good enough to make the playoffs, that's literally all that matters. And then once the playoffs start, then you can see noticeably there's a change in effort and energy on the behalf of the players. There's definitely a change of effort and energy in terms of the fans in the stadium.
Right.
Like, you turn on an NBA game during the regular season, like people are just kind of hanging out, talking. It's like a baseball game.
Right.
People are getting up, getting drinks, eating popcorn. Playoff time, though, Everyone's standing up.
Playoff
Everyone's got
atmosphere is
matching
completely
fucking
different.
shirts. Everyone's color-coded. They're screaming. They're waving towels. You're like,
Right.
all right, this is like what I want to watch. This is a more exciting atmosphere. But it just
it's
doesn't
just-
happen till the playoffs.
Yeah, and then like
I don't know. It's frustrating.
Well, and with like the NFL, like you said, there's 17 games, and being 10-7 sometimes won't get you in the playoffs.
Right, right.
So every game means
Every
something,
game, it
unless
matters.
you're 16-0 going into the final
Yeah.
week of the season. You're just kind of like,
Yeah.
who gives a shit if we lose?
And this same sort of argument is why I basically gave up watching baseball a long time ago. Because baseball, you think basketball plays a lot of games. Jesus.
So you're telling me the
Fucking-
Rockies have a chance?
Bro. Do you want to touch on the Rockies real
Not at
fast?
all.
Just to be like, they're
I mean,
historically bad.
They are on pace to have like a negative 520 run differential after the season's over. They have the worst 43-game start in modern Major League history.
They've won 7 games.
They're
That's it.
7-36.
That's what I was going to check to see if they've won since the last time.
Well,
Look.
they're 7-36, and the thing is they're in the best division in baseball, and I think they've only played 6 divisional games out of 52.
Well, guess what? They're down 3-0 to the Diamondbacks right now in the 3rd inning, so they're probably not going to win tonight either.
That bodes well for my bet. I have them losing by 4 and scoring less than 3 runs.
That's probably going to happen. Dude, they're 7-36.
Yeah.
And I think they're well on pace to lose over 100 games again this year.
Oh, dude, they're on pace to have the worst season in
Ever.
in 160 in modern baseball history.
So this will be what? It's like the 3rd season in a row that they're going to lose over
4th
100
season in a
games,
row,
or
I think.
4th season. Jesus.
But think about this, right? Last year's Chicago White Sox team was
were bad.
historically the worst
Really
team
bad.
ever. And a year later, you
And
have a
we're
team
worse.
going, hold my beer.
Hold my beer. We're worse. Dude, the White Sox were so bad last year. I remember towards the end of the season, I think I might have sent this post to you guys on Instagram. But like SportsCenter or ESPN or someone Instagrammed it out. Fucking the White Sox had a doubleheader towards
Right.
the end of the season. In the middle of the day,
And they had
a
like
doubleheader.
23 people show up.
Combined attendance was
Yeah.
like 20 people
Yeah.
in 2 games.
And you know what's funny about that?
I'm like, what the
The
fuck?
ushers at the top, you're probably some guy in the top row that goes, there is no one here. Can I? And they're like, no, you paid for your seat. You're going to sit up there by yourself.
I would have been like, fuck you, dude. I'm sitting behind home plate. Look, there's no one here.
Yeah, I would have gone around to every usher, and then when you found the one that was like, yeah, you can go down there, and then you go
Yeah.
down there and you just walk along.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, sue me.
Like, what do you like?
Sue one of your 20 fans.
Yeah, I'm one of the 20 people who bought tickets today.
And I'm only here because I'm a sports writer, so
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
getting paid to be here.
Or like, I got high and bored and I didn't know what else to do, so I came to
Right.
watch
The
baseball.
Cubs were out of town, so I came to your shithole stadium. Yeah, I mean, I won't watch a Rockies game. I won't watch baseball till the World Series, and then I might watch
Yeah.
1 or 2 games.
Well,
Like the closing game, I'll watch that.
I think I mentioned me and Taya somehow just randomly got real locked into the World Series last year. I don't know why. We watched 0 baseball the entire season, 0 baseball in the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, the World Series, I think we just watched Game 1 like while we were cooking and eating dinner one night, and we got kind of into it. It was like an exciting game, and then we just like locked in and watched. We watched the whole World Series, and I was like, "Babe, I think this is the most baseball I have watched in a decade or more."
And
like,
it's only fun though because you watch a regular season game and it's just like
It's
20,000
just a hangout.
fans just drinking
Just hanging
beer,
out. Yep.
chilling with a hot dog. But then you watch a postseason game
it's
at like Yankee
people
Stadium,
are locked in. The
and it's
crowd's noisy,
sold
Yeah.
out, everyone's standing, a base hit, and the place
Yeah.
erupts.
Place goes nuts.
Strikeouts,
Yeah.
and you're just kind of like, I'm feeling a vibe
yeah.
coming from the
It's
stadium.
a way different vibe. Whereas like regular season, it's like you could, if you're there in the stands. I've been to games here at Coors
Right.
Field in the stands. Innings will go by, and I'm like, I don't even know what the score is. I haven't even been looking.
What sport are we watching again? Oh shit! There's a team on the
Talking with
field.
your friends, drinking beer, fucking getting up, eating hot dogs,
or you
whatever.
you
like,
look at the scoreboard and you're like, we're down 14.
they're like, how'd that happen? Is
Everyone's like,
paying attention?
We have no idea.
Like, first time I looked, I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where like I'm a huge hockey person. It's obviously heavily noted, and I always tell people, I'm like, if you want to watch hockey, again, it's an 82 game regular season, so it can be long. At least it's fast paced and constantly going.
Yeah. It does have that going for me.
If you want to watch hockey, though, please just tune in during playoffs because it is completely different.
Yeah.
And it is, the atmosphere is crazy. The way that it's played is crazy, and it's just.
So I won't be able to like provide any input on this conversation, but do you want to take this moment while we're recapping?
No, I don't want to talk about the Avs
talk about
because
the Avs?
it fucking hurt too bad.
You don't want to talk about it? Okay.
It was so bad that like here, I think I told you I shattered my TV remote. I spiked it into the ground. I'm still finding pieces under my couch every once in a while.
So have you been like changing channels and all that, turning on? You have to
I bought a new remote on Amazon.
Yeah, I was like, I had to get up to the TV.
Well, so it's funny. They lost in overtime. I think it was a game 3. I changed my TV to HBO Max. I'm like, I'm just gonna go watch a Game of Thrones episode and try and like decompress because I get really into the Avs. Like
that's hilarious that you're like, I'm gonna put on Game of Thrones to relax.
Well, it just takes my mind off of everything. I'm not gonna relax because I'm
gonna watch Ned Stark get his head cut off.
I don't think you've ever like. You're not invested, kind of like I am. Like my sports teams are fucking.
You're the sports guy.
I'm like into it. Like I'm sitting on the edge of my couch. Like I have my phone turned a specific way. Like I've got.
I would say you are as locked in on sports as I am on like movies.
Yeah,
like that is like my passion. Sports is your passion.
Yeah, so I'm like locked in, and when they go to overtime in hockey, right? It's not like basketball where you get a layup and then you get a 3 and you're up 5. First score wins.
Fine.
Next, it's sudden death. So everything is just like a heart pounding.
Yeah. Every single trip up and down the ice.
You're just like, please don't have the puck in our zone.
Yeah.
And you lose in overtime in a game that you were winning all the way into the third period. And I changed the TV to go to HBO Max because I'm like, I just need to. I'm too amped up, right? Like my heart rate's probably like in the 400s. Like I need to just watch something to try and get my mind off of it. And as soon as I changed to HBO Max, I had my remote in my hand. Luna's laying on a different part of the couch, and she's kind of looking at me like...
She knows you're a ticking time bomb.
And I just go, fuck! And this is like 11:45 because they started late. And I just like stood up and just spiked it. Like full on, like I had the most anger in the world. Of course that happens right there. Spiked it into the center of my floor out there. Boom. It's like the remote just turned into dust. Well, most of you that are listening to this, go look at your brand new HD TV and tell me if there's any fucking buttons on it to control the TV with. And I guarantee you're going to tell me no.
There's like a power button and that's it, probably.
No, I couldn't even find a power button on my TV. So I have the TV on Max just sitting there waiting for me to hit play.
Can't do shit.
And I can't do shit. And so I go... Oh, there's an LG remote app for your phone. You can pair your phone and the TV. So I'm like, let me do that. So I download it, and I'm like, you fucking idiot. You got to go into your settings to get like the TV's
to enable
IP
it or whatever.
to enable it and like do the partnering. I'm like,
well, I'm really fucked.
Fucker. And so I'm like, thinking about, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I've got a bunch of extra keyboards and mice, and I'm like, oh, but I don't know if this has a USB in the back. Luckily, I had a USB in the bag, so I got an old mouse and plugged it in. And I'm using a mouse out there, for the night, clicking through and doing all that shit. But yeah, so anyways, I don't want to talk about the Avs because it hurts too bad. We can talk about the NFL draft, though.
Okay. So I wanted to get your thoughts on... I actually watched quite a bit of the draft, which I never really do. It was just on... So, we had gone out to like a couple of bars or dinner or whatever, and it was on. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm watching a little bit of it. And... the one main takeaway, because look, the draft has never been something that I've really given a flying fuck about.
So
it's one of those things.
Random thing before we get into your thought.
Go ahead.
The draft is the 6th most watched sporting event. I think 6th or 7th most watched sporting event in the world. Fuck. It is a top 10 most watched sporting event worldwide. Just wanted to throw that out there.
That's
just so you know, because the culture of the draft is like huge.
I
watched all 3 days.
That goes to show the hold that the NFL has on not only the United States but now a global presence.
Well, I mean, I watched all 3 days, so.
Well, I watched more than I have watched probably since Sam got drafted in 2018. I mean, like I just don't care. I'm like, they post it when the draft's over. They post who everyone picked. Right. I'll see round by round if I want to look at who the Broncos
more interesting when you're following players.
Right, yeah.
Like, so, see where they go.
So we ended up watching like a decent amount of it. The one thing I wanted to ask you about, because we've talked about this on the podcast before, you're a big CU Buffs fan, the whole Shedeur saga. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because my takeaway was, look, he is a decent to even pretty good player, had a pretty decent, pretty good college career, really mostly like one season at CU last season. He's a guy who is not coming out of college as a presumptive number 1 overall pick or anything like that. Mel Kiper seemed to have like the biggest hard-on in the world for him and thought he should have been like the second quarterback picked.
Yeah, he should be removed from ESPN's draft because that was the biggest.
He was like having a fucking mental breakdown over the fact that Shedeur kept dropping.
It was just completely inappropriate for the whole draft.
The only thing, my only takeaway about it, because like, look, I've talked to you about it and the whole like Dion and Shedeur thing at CU last year. I'm like, look, CU has never mattered in my mind at all in my life. But the only thing that made me kind of start like actively rooting against them was just how hard everyone was dick riding them in the national sports media going into last year, the whole thing, yada, yada, yada. But I'm like, I have no ill will against Shedeur Sanders. Like, whatever. I hope he gets drafted. I hope he has a good career.
Right, it was just annoying.
It's just annoying. But what ESPN and all of the national sports media landscape did during the draft by just focusing in on the big story being Shedeur still hasn't gotten drafted. You wake up every fucking day. Shedeur still hasn't gotten drafted. And meanwhile, round after round, you
almost forgot that there were 5 rounds of draft picks before.
All these guys are getting picked, and it's like you could be covering these guys, talking about their career, talking about their potential impact on the team that just picked them, and instead here we are talking about, I can't believe Shedeur still hasn't gotten picked.
The Chiefs are on the clock, and like, I can't believe they didn't pick Shedeur. It's like they have Patrick Mahomes, and they're like, guys, they should have picked Shedeur here.
Let it go. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
So anyway, what are your thoughts on the whole thing? I just thought it was really annoying that ESPN just like couldn't let go of it. They're like a dog with a bone. I'm like, guys.
So I'm a huge CU fan. I think what they've done for the program at CU is great.
They've completely turned it around there.
You know, and that's the first and foremost thing is it's like I'm a CU fan. I'm not a Dion fan. I'm not a Shedeur fan.
Yeah.
I root for the name on the front. You know, I root for the black and gold. I root for CU, and you know, it's cool to have as much like recognition because the only recognition we had before was when we were 1-11 and we're losing by 34 points on
Everyone's
average.
Like, look at how terrible this team is. They've only won one game.
A team that was once a national championship winner and contender on a yearly basis to 1-11 and just complete irrelevance to all of a sudden the talk of college football. It's awesome.
It's good for CU for sure.
Now, my thought on it is, you look at the QB needy teams, right? And like, this is where I start doing my whole like
armchair GM.
Right, my armchair GM. Yeah. Let me do the analytical thing. Because if you look back on it, last April, after the draft, because you know, as soon as the draft ends, you're like, let's look to next year's draft and see. Like Arch Manning's like the second-ranked quarterback already or whatever. Yeah. And like the beginning in September, he was the consensus number 1 pick, according to a lot of people. That Shedeur was going to be a number 1 pick and Travis was going to be a top 5. You're going to have 2 top 5 picks out of CU. That's great. That's awesome. Like that as a CU fan, you're like, that's going to bring recruits in, which it has.
Yeah.
To see it all unfold, what I started to bring into question was, how much of a locker room cancer is he?
Yeah.
Because
I look at like a lot of baggage.
I look at the Russell Wilson scenario, right? Mm-hmm. He came in and was like, I want my own coach. I want my own office, blah, 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 blah. Sean Payton came in and was like, that's not how it works. You're part of the team. We're building this, and that's why it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. But it's like, then Bo Nix comes in, and he's like, we're a team. Like, we're a family. I'm going to buy into your culture and try and be a part of your guys' team. And you see how it works. I think Shedeur's a lot about me, the name on the back. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a perceived, like the perception of a lot of people, to where they're kind of just like, I don't want that in the locker room.
It's a turnoff.
I don't want that kind of, you know, and some teams are just like, we don't need a quarterback, one.
Well, and here's a really good point to that, and I'll let you keep going. There are teams, and this has been proven throughout different franchises across different sports for years in the past. There are teams who are willing to have a personality like that and someone who brings a lot of baggage like that if you're good enough.
Right.
And I just think by him slipping all the way to, what was it, the fifth round?
The 5th round.
I think that's a lot of NFL teams saying he brings a lot of baggage and we don't think it's worth dealing with the baggage. He's not so good that we can deal with all this shit.
He's not Johnny Manziel, where in college you're like, this guy's he's a generational player.
They were like, A, we're not impressed with his film. We're not, that blown away by his film. He didn't do a lot of like the pre-draft like interview stuff. Apparently was not that great. He didn't come off very well to a lot of those teams. And they're thinking he brings all this baggage. So it's like I don't blame all these NFL franchises for if they have the opportunity to just be like it's not worth it with him.
And
he's
one
not
thing
a fucking
too,
generational player, you know.
One thing too that I read, and this was kind of a concern, but I don't know, right? I don't know where these guys get this information from, but clearly they get it because they're still writing. But they were like, if you draft Shedeur, there's always the chance that Dion leaves CU to come to the NFL. So a head coach is sitting there going, I don't want to draft a guy whose dad is a Hall of Famer who might want to come coach in the NFL.
And might come take my
and
job.
Would take my job.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Because, I mean, think about this, right? And this is where I kind of realized, like, maybe he turns into be like Tom Brady was a 6th-round draft pick, right? Like, I'm not saying he doesn't have the talent to necessarily go out and play. I think he has the mindset and attitude that it's like it's all about me. I'm the best. I'm legendary. Like,
yeah.
And people are just kind of like, we don't want to deal with that shit.
Right.
So we had the 20th pick. The Steelers had the 21st pick. Steelers quarterback is Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, they're going to draft Shedeur. Apparently, they had a good interview or not. I don't know. That's like a toss-up, I guess. And I'm like, this is where he's going to go in the first round is 21 to the Steelers.
Yeah.
The slide ends, he'll be picked. And they're like, yeah, we're going to go defensive tackle from Oregon. And I'm kind of like, I don't see another team right now in the first round that needs a quarterback that bad. And then the Giants, I think, traded up and drafted Jackson Dart, and everyone's like, oh, racist. And I'm like, the first overall pick was a black quarterback, guys. Like, there's no racist here. It's what fits your team needs and the person you want to bring in. Because you don't want to bring someone in that's a locker room cancer and is going to suck. And as the Browns drafted Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round, the quarterback out of Oregon. Like, Will Howard, what's his name, Dalton Show or whatever, went to the Saints, and they believed Shedeur could go to the Saints at 9, and they took a tackle. And it was just like, as I'm watching this unfold, I'm going, I think there's a few things. Either teams really don't believe he's that good, or they just don't really want that energy around their team. Yeah. They don't want...
And I think it's probably a combination of both for a lot of teams.
And I mean, I'm okay with it.
Because here's the thing. Like I said earlier, if he's the exact same personality he is now, and he brings all the same baggage, but he's like generational talent, like he's going to be the next Peyton Manning.
Right.
They don't give a fuck about his off the field baggage. They're going to be like, we want this guy on our football team.
You're going to sell tickets. You're going to sell
tickets, and we're going to win games. They don't give a fuck about anything else. Yeah. He's just, I think the NFL evaluated him, and they don't think he's that good, and he brings all this other stuff. Right. It's like if he's the same level of talent he is now, but he has the personality of like a Bo Nix, who's like, hey, I'm just coming in, I'm trying to be a part of the franchise, I'm trying to buy into the culture.
He probably goes
first
higher. Or second round.
Yeah, for sure.
But and there's one thing too, like you can't take the film away from this. Like he has great plays, he has good reads, perfect balls, like. He's a very accurate quarterback. He's a good quarterback.
He's a good player, yeah.
I'm not taking anything away from him.
Yeah.
But then you go watch a play where it's like, throw the ball away.
Right. He holds on to it
He takes an 18-yard sack.
Yeah. And they were talking about this during the draft coverage, and I remember you talking about this way earlier last year. You're like, dude, he'll hold on to it, and he'll take this 35-yard fucking sack. And you're like,
I think it was first and goal from the 7 at the Alamo Bowl against BYU. And then it's 4th and goal from like the 38. And there was no penalties involved. It was just like 2 sacks.
Like, dude, what are you doing?
And it becomes one of those things that he cared so much, I think, about his statistics in college.
Yeah.
That instead of just throwing the ball away and avoiding 1, the contact and taking a hit, or 2, taking an unnecessary sack, you didn't want to hurt your completion percentage. So you set an NCAA record for completion percentage. But you just took an 18-yard sack, and now it's 2nd and 18.
Right.
And you can't run the ball.
And now you just fucked this whole drive.
So guess what? If you can't run the ball and your O-line can't block that great, and I'm a D coordinator, I'm like, we're rushing 3.
Yeah.
Because he's going to panic and try and run around. We're going to drop 8 into coverage.
Yeah.
So it's 8 on probably 4 or 5 at most.
We know they have to just throw it down the field.
We know they're going to have to throw it downfield. And all of a sudden, one guy breaks 3, and he does this, like, instead of stepping up, because there were times where if he just steps up into the pocket, the pressure goes around him.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of the pocket. You step up into it, and then if you need to go to the sides, you can sneak your way out. You don't do this.
You don't go backwards, straight backwards.
Let me run backwards, because then the guy's like, I'm already running. My momentum's going this way.
And now we're just closing
and then they just get to him. And it's like, if I'm watching that, I'm going, he takes a lot of unnecessary sacks, doesn't throw the ball away.
Yep.
You can't do that in the NFL.
Oh, for sure.
Imagine 1st and 10, first play of the game, you give up a 10-yard sack, and everyone's like, dude, you could have thrown the ball away, or you could have stepped up in the pocket, but instead you tried to.
Yeah.
Like, there was a video going around, and I think it was like his quarterback coach or his offensive coordinator. Shedeur did something, and his coach was like, yeah, just remember, this league you can't do that in.
Yeah.
And he goes, I mean, you've seen Myles Garrett without his shirt on, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're going to have guys like that every day.
Who's coming full speed trying to take your head off. Yeah. You have seconds back there to
you
get rid
can't
of.
be doing what you were doing in college.
Right.
And so I think that scared people away from drafting him.
Yeah.
And I think it got to the 5th round, and the Browns were probably like,
sure.
I think at a 5th round pick, your ceiling is through the roof with him.
Right.
And the floor is like.
Agreed. Yeah. It's
he's
like,
a 5th round pick if he doesn't pan out.
5th round pick, yeah.
And that becomes questionable with the Browns. And why would you take Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round?
Well, so after the draft was over, SportsCenter, again, I see all this shit on Instagram because I'm not on Twitter or anything. So I see they put on Instagram, it's like, this is the Browns' presumptive quarterback locker room for this upcoming season. And
Joe Flacco.
Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders.
And Kenny Pickett.
And I'm looking at this. I'm looking at it with Ty. We're sitting there, and I'm like, watch. Out of that whole fucking locker room, you know who's going to be starting games for them? Joe Flacco. Yep. Like,
Mr. Elite.
Out of that whole fucking quarterback locker room, they're going to be playing games with Joe Flacco, Mr. 39-year-old Joe Flacco. Or
here's the thing with him, though, right? Like, say Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign. He decides to retire. The Saints and the Steelers are really the two teams that need a quarterback. You're sitting there, and you're like, well, you want Joe Flacco, you want Shedeur, you want Dylan Gabriel, you want Kenny Pickett, you want Deshaun.
Yeah.
We got 5 quarterbacks.
Right.
They can't keep them all, so you could just wait for them to cut them.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know. It was a very interesting slide. I'm happy he got drafted, but also like going back to the character of him, he could be a great person, right?
Yeah.
But he puts on for the cameras, and that's what we see. I don't see him behind doors. But after the first night was over, and they're like at his watch party, he's rapping, and he's like. And I'm like, that's cool that you're not letting it bother you, but teams don't want to see you rapping.
I will say this for him. The way he handled that whole thing, I thought he handled it with a lot of grace and humility.
Yeah, I mean,
I thought he handled that really well.
But he's also been in that position before where he needs, like, he's dealt with a lot of adversity like that to deal with it.
I liked the way he earned some points in my mind with the way he handled all that.
Yeah.
Because he could have, like, pouted and kind of thrown a fit about it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And he didn't. He didn't.
Hey, if you want to go to Cleveland and you want to win that starting QB job and ball out,
good.
By all means,
I hope you do.
That'll be great for you. You know, more power to you, because that's how people are going to look at you and be like, okay, we were wrong.
Yeah.
You know, but then you have teams that it's like the Broncos, right? We don't need a quarterback, so we don't miss out. Now, a funny thing is, apparently the Broncos had an undrafted free agent contract signed up and ready to go for him if he went undrafted, and he was like, I'm going to sign with the Broncos if I go undrafted.
Interesting.
But then he got drafted in the 5th round.
All right. Yeah, just get the hometown guy at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why not? But that's a kind of like interesting thing. It's like, hey, go ball out, bro.
Yeah. Well, honestly, he can use this as like a chip on his shoulder too, to be like, I'm going to prove everyone wrong, that I'm worth more than a 5th round pick. You know, all this kind of stuff. Like, it's honestly, it might end up being a good thing for him.
Right. He could be the best quarterback in the class.
Yeah.
And people are going to be like, why didn't we take him sooner? Or other teams are going to be like, man, we really needed to draft him.
Yeah.
And we missed. And it's like, well, all the signs at the time led to us not picking him.
So we mentioned, I was going to ask if you said you watched like pretty much the whole thing.
Oh, the whole thing.
I didn't actually see this happen, but I was talking to Chuck about it. I was talking to Ty's dad about it. And he said he watched this because I was like, I just saw a clip of this and I didn't know what was going on. But I mentioned Mel Kiper. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what I saw was like, it was just, I was kind of flipping through the channels. I was about to go to bed one night or whatever. I paused on SportsCenter and I saw just this clip of during the draft coverage. It's in the middle of him sliding. He still hasn't gotten picked yet. And Mel Kiper is like freaking out about it. And
I
like,
think it was like the start of the day 3. So
yeah,
the
it's like
round.
Reese Davis is doing it. And then the other guy who's like a former front office dude for the NFL. I always forget. I space on his name, but you see him on SportsCenter all the time. They're all having this like discussion. They're on like a panel or whatever, and Mel Kiper's there. And they get into like a fucking argument. Did you watch this all happen?
So I can't remember who it was.
It got kind of testy on the air.
But he was more or less being like, Mel, quit being a little bitch.
Yeah, everyone was like, Mel,
you're focused on one person,
Yeah.
and there's, 257 draft picks or 256 draft picks, and we're focused on one.
Right.
There's how many stories are being written right now? I mean, like, and it did get frustrating. So I watched a lot of it on mute. I watched more for the just like seeing the names come up and then seeing the positions, the highlights, and it became one of those things where it was like, yo, Mel, just because you were wrong, like, and he goes, I'm not wrong. The NFL QB, scouts are wrong. And I'm like, dude, chill the fuck out. It's a draft, first of all.
Yeah.
Your job's not on the line based on how accurate your
ESPN's
prediction
not going to
is.
fire you because
well, they might now because you were a little bitch. But he was just like freaking out, and I mean, it's hard to watch sometimes because you got a story like the Steelers defensive tackle they took for their first pick. He gets drafted by the Steelers, goes to the hospital, and his mom passes away.
I heard about that. Yeah.
And it's like, it's kind of cool that I like to think of it this way, that God held on to your mom and was like, we're going to let your mom stay.
She was able to see that happen.
She's going to see you get drafted. You're going to be able to get to to be by her side. And then, she can go and be in peace. And it's like, those are the kind of stories that you should be sharing. I can't remember what other guy it was. And I don't think it was the same guy. But his mom or dad was like put in a wheelchair. So he spent all of his NIL money on a van that was like a wheelchair accessible van that his mom or dad could drive. And like,
that's cool.
And it's like, he's like, I spent all of my money I earned on NIL for, I think it was his mom, to get this van. And it's like, well, and it's just like, those are the stories I want to hear about, because
all these great stories,
these kids' lives just changed. The parents that the kids trying to do everything they can for, their lives just changed. Like, the Broncos rookie who we took in the first round, which, don't get me wrong, at 20 I was kind of hoping we were going to go with a receiver or running back. As soon as I saw the interview they gave this guy that we got from Texas, I was like, we won the draft with this guy. He goes, well, first Sean Payton goes, out of all the years I've done this, I have never once had a pick asked to be put on speakerphone in the room. He goes, he asked me to be put on speakerphone. So Sean Payton put him on speakerphone in like the Broncos office, and he goes, he thanked everybody for the opportunity, and like,
oh, cool.
He goes, this is the first time I've ever had that. I'm like, one, that's a character guy.
That's
right
some
there.
stand-up shit. Yeah, that's.
And then I watched his interview, super well spoken, just like, I'm gonna do whatever I need, just that like. Great off the field person, which is going to translate to a great on the field person.
You want.
And then I watch his highlights and like this, they're like, you want to put this guy at defensive end, he'll play defensive end. They're like, he's not the biggest guy, but they're like, he's arguably the best cornerback in the draft. And I'm like, we don't need a cornerback, but
it's nice to have.
We have the best defense in the league now. Yeah. And it's like, then I watch after they lost in their, who did Texas lose to?
I think it was Ohio State, wasn't it? Didn't Ohio State beat them on their way to winning the title?
I think it was Ohio State. I think
you're talking about in the playoff, right?
No, it was Arizona State. ASU beat Texas.
No, Texas beat them, but it was like in double overtime. In the playoff?
Oh, yeah.
It went to like 2 overtimes.
That's right.
And Texas got them, yeah.
That's right. Okay, so yeah, I think that it was Ohio State.
I think it was Ohio State because I think they lost to the eventual national champion.
He was like doing the press conference after the game or whatever, and they were like, "All right, no more questions." And like he stood up and then he like sat back down at the microphone. And he goes, "I just want to thank everyone here." Like, just like gave this like thank you speech, and then was like, "I want to thank our Lord and Savior." Like. Just like a really heartfelt, like you just lost a game and your chance at a national championship, and was just like
emotional and
just saying thank you and being like ultra respectful and everything. And I'm just like, dude, that's the kind of player you want on your team.
Yeah, for sure.
And especially if he can ball out too. So one off the field, you're like, he's not going to have any problems.
Yeah.
and on the field he's a psychopath. Like he's the best player on the team. You're just like,
Yeah.
that's the guy I want. And so it's like I see that kind of things, and I'm like, we should be talking about that. But no, I got to hear more about Shedeur being a 5th-round draft pick. I don't give a shit what the Browns do.
Right.
If he succeeds or doesn't succeed, great. If then it's like, oh well, Shiloh Sanders signed with the Buccaneers, and it's just like I don't give a shit. He should have never been drafted anyways. So
Yeah.
but it's just like, yeah, I think their coverage was a little bummed out because of Shedeur.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I wanted to get your thoughts on that because I was just, like I said, I watched more of the draft than I typically do, and that just it really stuck out to me. I'm like, man, they just
hammered home Shedeur the whole time,
Yeah.
and it got to the point where, like I said, I'm a Colorado fan, so he did get drafted from Colorado. I'm assuming that's what he's going to say when they do like the Shedeur Sanders, University of Colorado.
Yeah.
Or, Shedeur
On the Monday Night Football.
And then they're like, John Smith, BYU. That's the greatest thing ever. The Key and Peele skit is what I'm talking about, people.
Ojamataj Buckshank.
University of Alabama. You're just like, oh.
The fucking names they come up with, dude.
And then the white guy, John Smith, BYU. You're just like, that's great.
Yep, that sounds about right.
But yeah, I hope he has a good career. I'm more interested in Travis Hunter, and I want to kind of see how Jacksonville uses him.
Yeah.
That was interesting that they traded up to take him at 2, and I'm kind of shocked the Browns were willing to he's a generational player, but it's one of those things that it's like, how long could he compete both ways in the NFL? And I think you're going to have to I think you prioritize him as a receiver because I think he's just a freak athlete like that. But you can have defensive packages for him.
Yeah.
So you can work him into the defense, but you don't have to he doesn't have to you can't play 132 snaps a game in the NFL. It's
Taya asked me that. She's like, so is he going to play both ways in the NFL? I'm like, probably not. I mean,
not
he
a full
might do
game.
a little bit, but not like what we saw in college, where he's just like every snap on both sides of the ball.
And people are like, well, it's the same amount of demand. I'm like, no,
it's different. It's different.
Most NFL receivers block.
Yeah.
So as a DB, you're getting worn down.
Yeah.
They're bigger, they're faster, they're stronger. You got to remember, these are the best of the best.
Yep.
You're not going against 18-year-old true freshmen. You're going against A.J. Brown. You're going against Cortland Sutton, who's 6'4", and great jump ball guy, a DK Metcalf.
Some guy who's not only a freak athlete, super strong, very fast, is also like a 10-year pro who's been here and done this and had repeated success.
And I'm not saying that Travis Hunter can't compete with those guys, but
it's just a different
it's a different level, and you're going to get press coverage by DBs like a Pat Surtain that's like, I know that our speed's going to be similar, and I can press you, and you're not going to beat me.
Yeah.
So now you're going to work twice as hard to get your route run and hope that you get open. But our pass rush is just as good, so you might not even be open by the time we get a sack. And it's just it's not college, and you can see that with a lot of these guys.
Oh yeah.
So
you and I did a whole podcast on this feed about Heisman busts, guys who were literally the best player in college football and went in and just never did shit in the NFL.
And people are like,
making that jump is not guaranteed.
Right, and people are like, Ashton Jeanty's going to be the leading rusher this year, and I'm like, I'll wait to see week 3 and see how he's performing.
Yeah.
Because if they're giving him the ball 25 times a game as a rookie, his career is going to be over soon.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just, I mean, it's fascinating to watch the draft, and then it's more fascinating when you're in the armchair GM and you're like, we need receivers or tight ends for Bo Nix, and then they're like, well, our 7th round draft pick is 6'7", and you're like, okay. Throw it to him in the red zone.
Yeah, red zone target.
And then they're like, oh, he played basketball in college too.
Perfect. Go box out those corners.
Throw it 11 feet in the fucking air.
Yeah.
Against a 5'10" cornerback.
Yeah.
And
have him just go get it.
Tell him to jump up, get it, and put 2 feet in bounds.
Yeah.
And everyone would be like, it's not that easy. I'm like, well, I'm going to make it sound that easy. I'm sitting in my armchair.
Yeah. This is armchair GM time.
But the Pat Bryant for the receiver, everyone was like, I don't know why they drafted him, and now people are kind of going, oh, we see why they drafted him. Yeah. This guy's going to be pretty good. Same with RJ Harvey. They're like, no, the dude's 5'8", 210 pounds, and I'm like, well, that's pretty small, but and then they're like, this dude has the nastiest jump cut ever, and I'm like, well, So if he does a great jump cut and gets to open field, and he ran like the fourth or fifth fastest 40 for a running back.
Good luck catching him.
Yeah. Okay, great. It all worked out.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are just talking shit about nothing. So, I don't know. I wish things went a little bit different with the draft. I wish we would have got a receiver, but I'm fine with everything.
Yeah. Well, I think that was all I had. I wanted to, because we haven't seen each other in a couple of weeks, so I wanted to get caught up on, do a little sports check-in, see how what your thoughts were with NBA playoffs, the draft, all that good stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what. I still follow the NHL. I mean, obviously, we've been watching the game here. It sucks that the Avs are out, and if the Nuggets lose on Sunday, my sports life will be pretty mellow and like relaxing until football starts.
Around. Yeah. That's another thing too. I really hang on to the NBA playoffs because once the NBA playoffs are done, then I'm in that spot where you're at, where it's like now I'm not really watching any sports until football. I just don't pay attention.
I got golf, but it's like,
you see, and I'm not a golf guy either, so I don't pay attention to golf. I don't pay attention to baseball. And I'm like, so really until after June, the NBA finals are over. I'm like.
Right. You're like
until late August, early September, I'm not watching sports.
Give me preseason football, baby. Yeah, I mean, I love watching golf, but it's one of those things. It's like I'm not like invested in it like I am. Like I'm not like
you can just have it on and be.
Rory didn't win.
Shit. Yeah.
Like my life's ruined. I'm like, Shane Lowry won. Awesome. That's fucking cool. I didn't bet on him to win, but like that's awesome. Like way to go.
So does your sports betting slow down at all in the summer, or are you still a fucking maniac about it?
It slows down pretty.
Okay.
Because baseball's so hard to bet.
Really?
Because it's like, I'm going to bet this guy gets a hit. And then they're like, yeah, he's batting 285. And you're like, oh, that's not that bad. And then you like look and he's like 116 for like 498. And you're like, oh, I guess those numbers aren't as good as I thought.
Not stellar. It's not what
but he just needs one hit. And then they're like, yeah, he's got 5 strikeouts. You're like,
0 for 5. Sorry.
And then the next game, he's 5 for 5.
Yeah.
And you're like,
that's why I don't bet on sports.
This is sick, guys. Well, I've been on a heater lately.
Really?
There's been on the playoff hockey and basketball games, I've hit like 8 in a row.
Nice.
So I got a nice little bankroll.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll blow that.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep it till football season.
I was going to say, cash it out and go do something fun with it right now, or else you're going to fucking lose it all.
No, I had to pay for her to go to the vet on Monday, so.
Oh, well, there you go. Fucking Luna.
$200 again.
Yep. So I think for everybody listening, again, apologies for taking such a long break. It's been like 3 weeks since we've recorded an episode, but we've talked about this before, but we are planning on doing a Last of Us Season 2 pod, and I think we only really have a couple more weeks until Season 2 is done, because I've heard
6 episodes.
Yeah, what I've heard is they're only doing like 7, I think, and what I have heard is that since the second game is so long, they have split the second game into 2 seasons. So basically what we're seeing now is like the first half of the second game, and then Season 3 will be the last half of that second game. So
if you're the writers of the TV show, you're sitting there going, how can we make the most money out of this?
Yeah.
Which I'll tell you this, no spoilers. Please go watch Last of Us so when the season's done and we do that, you can just tune in right away because that'll be a great episode.
Yeah.
Unlike House of the Dragon, I have not really come across an episode in The Last of Us Season 2 that I'm kind of like, this is a little disappointing.
I agree.
I'm a little disappointed in like certain timings of events through the show. And that's all I'll say without spoiling anything.
I was going to say, it's hard. I don't want to go into any spoilers, but I will say just a teaser for anyone who hasn't been watching it for when we do our episode here in a couple weeks. The second episode of this second season is one of the best and most shocking episodes of television I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like I was blown away. I was like, wow.
And so, if you haven't watched it yet, but you're on social media, it's probably been spoiled.
I was going to say, try and avoid spoilers. If you're not watching Last of Us, check it out. We will be doing a Season 2 recap pod here in a couple weeks because I think it's going to be kind of a truncated season because, like I said, they're splitting it up and we're going to get the
the first one was only 7 episodes, too.
Yeah, I think it was I think it was a little bit longer, maybe 8 or 9, but this one's only supposed to be like 7 or something like that. So, anyway.
Which would be this Sunday would be the last one. So if it is this Sunday, then it's the last episode.
I think we maybe have 2 more weeks. I don't know. I'd have to double check. But anyway, it's coming up. Been loving that. I'll tell you what, dude. I know you haven't been watching this, but Andor on Disney Plus they just wrapped up their second season. I have to finish up the last 3 episodes. It went from a show that I was like, all right, this is pretty good, and it's a spin-off to Rogue One, which is already its own spin-off from the Star Wars saga. And I think Rogue One is one of the best things that has come out of the Disney owning Star Wars like thing.
The only good thing.
And Andor as a show, I thought I thought the season 1 was solid. It was really good. The critics like kind of jizzed themselves over it. They freaked the fuck out about it. But I will say, this second season, the last 3 or 4 episodes that I watched were incredible, and apparently the last 3 it finishes amazing. I just saw something the other day that said it's the first show ever to have 5 episodes in a row of a 9.5 or higher out of 10 on IMDb.
Jeez.
So I'm like, holy fuck. The episode that I just finished of the night was pretty incredible. So I'll say to anyone out there who's listening, if you're a Star Wars fan at all, check out Andor on Disney Plus. It's all about Cassian Andor from Rogue One and like the background of the rebellion leading up to the events of that film.
Rebellion.
It's pretty fucking incredible. It's like a really well-written spy drama set within the Star Wars universe. It's really good shit.
I'll tell you what, I've been on a movie rewatch lately.
What have you been watching?
My flight back to Houston, I watched Gladiator 2.
Oh, nice.
Because it's on Prime.
Was that the second, or was that the only time you'd watched it since theaters?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, funny thing, on my flight down there, I was
now you
sitting
weren't
next to
brutally hungover this time.
Right. So I was sitting next to a mother-daughter on my flight. They kept trying to buy me drinks and everything on the flight, but I just don't like drinking or doing anything on the plane.
Yeah.
We land in Houston, and they were like, the daughter was sitting in the middle, and they were really fun. They were playing like Yahtzee on the flight and everything, and they're like, "We'll try and be quiet." And I'm like, "I'm gonna have a movie, and don't worry about me. If you bump into me, I'm like, you guys are nice enough and cool enough that it's like it's not gonna bother me." And the daughter goes, "Was that Gladiator 2?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "What'd you think? My husband and I just watched that." I was like, I loved it. I mean, the first time I watched it was at like 10 a.m. the night after I'd been drinking tequila shots with my buddy for a Friendsgiving. So I was brutally hungover.
Yeah.
And 2.5 hours in the movie theater brutally hungover that early in the morning is pretty hard to focus on the movie. But I'm like, I like it. I think it's great. I'm like, it sucks though because it's always going to draw comparisons to the first one.
Right.
And that's where it's just like, the sequels get out of hand because you're comparing it to the first one, and it's not fair because no matter how good it was, it wouldn't beat the first one.
Yeah, you're like not going to eclipse the first one, which is now like a bona fide classic at this point. You know, it's like it won Best Picture. Like it's a really fucking good movie.
So I was just always like, yeah, it's a great movie. And then I've watched Twisters again. I
haven't rewatched Twisters. We saw it in theaters, and I really enjoyed it in theaters, but I haven't rewatched it.
So I rewatched that on my plane ride back here.
Okay.
Great movie.
I was going to say, I don't know if we had a chance to talk Twisters, did we? I don't know if, as of the last time...
I hadn't seen it until I moved into here.
As of the last time we talked, you hadn't seen it yet, so...
And I loved the movie.
It's good,
great.
man. I enjoyed it.
Obviously on a Game of Thrones rewatch for like the 412 millionth time. Den of Thieves 2.
What'd you think?
First one's better.
I agree. First one's better.
But was still very entertaining for the 2.5 hours it is. And then I've rewatched Maverick. Top Gun Maverick. Because it's just
banger, dude.
Such a good movie.
What a great movie.
And it's funny that I rewatched that, and then I saw some article where what's his name? The guy that's in Twisters and
Glenn Powell.
He first did his interview or whatever, his casting tryout for Rooster.
Oh,
and he didn't get it.
Interesting.
And so then Tom Cruise approached him and was like, "I want you in this movie." And he's like, "I don't think that's the smart thing for my career or whatever." And Tom Cruise had like a, what do you want to be known for in your career?
Yeah.
And I think Glenn Powell was like, "I want to be like you." And that's why he took the Hangman. Like Tom Cruise was like, "If you want to be like me, you're Hangman. Take this." And that was a great role for him. And then after that role, I mean, think of his career just skyrocketing.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to know that Tom Cruise was like,
"Oh, yeah.
Trust me, take this role."
That's a big jumping off point for
and you're going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
I mean, Miles Teller's already been up there.
Yeah.
He's already a bigger name. You take this role And trust me, you're not going to be like a 4-minute. Like you're going to be in the majority of the movie.
It's a legit part, yeah.
And then it's just been like skyrocketing from there.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
because after that he was in Hitman, which I actually really enjoyed. I don't know if you ever watched that.
I watched, I think 3/4 of it and fell asleep on the couch and woke up it was over and I was like, I don't think I missed anything.
I liked that movie a lot, dude. I thought it was really good. And then he was in Anyone But You with Sydney Sweeney. I haven't seen that one.
I haven't seen that one.
And then, obviously Twisters. And then I don't know what he's got coming up, but I think he's got some other shit lined up.
He's in something else that I saw a preview for, but I can't remember what the name is.
Top Gun Maverick was a big launching off point for his career, for sure. Did you know he was in, I actually saw something where someone was kind of covering his career the other day, and they mentioned that he's actually... he plays a stockbroker in Dark Knight Rises when Bane and his henchmen come in to rob the stock exchange or whatever.
What other movie?
And Bane like slams his head off of a keyboard or whatever.
He was in some other movie too as like an extra.
Yeah.
Like way,
It's really fun seeing those early roles of these like once you know where they get to, where they're like these massive movie stars, you're like, look at him in this little tiny 2-minute part in this movie 10 years ago or whatever. I love that shit.
Like Chris Pratt was in Wanted.
Yeah.
And you always forget that he's the best friend. He's James
McAvoy's friend in the office.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you forget about it, and now he's just this huge.
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like, wow, those little roles really get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I speaking of that, though, before we wrap up, I saw this guy who's like, yeah, I've actually been an extra in 3 movies. He's like, the first one was Napoleon Dynamite, and it was the bus scene. He's like, yeah, that's me sitting on the bus right there. He goes, I got paid nothing for it. when they throw the action figure, he's like, we were just on the bus.
Just on the bus, yeah. Well, that movie was made for like a shoestring budget anyways.
Yeah, I don't even think it was like $1 million. I think it was like $300,000 budget or something.
It was like
that.
Nothing, basically.
And then he's like, here I am in some, I don't know if it was I think it was Blades of Glory.
Okay.
And he's just a guy in the stands.
Some dude up in the stands.
He's like, I got paid for nothing. And then he goes, and here's me again in some other movie. He's like, that's me standing at the train station. He goes, I got paid nothing. And I just had to laugh because it was like the first half of the video was like the extra, like where they're like, this is famous person was an extra in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, they're like, hey, this famous person was an extra in Titanic and you didn't notice it. Like, the guy that played Elastaman or fucking, I don't know, the Final Four. The Fantastic Four guys, like the OG one that like is the stretchy guy,
Mr. Fantastic.
Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
That guy is in Titanic as one of the lifeboat captains.
I remember him in that movie. Yeah,
and it's like a very small role, but then you like start to think about it. And you're like, I do recognize them from that movie.
Yep.
And so it was like showing famous people as like an extra or a very small part, and then he goes, "Oh yeah, you want to see me in the movie?" And it's just, and he's like, "I got paid nothing for any of them."
There's a podcast that I listen to all the time that I really love called The Rewatchables, and they'll basically take a movie that they have deemed like a rewatchable movie that they've gone back to time and time again. If it's ever on TV, they stop and they watch it, and they go through all these categories throughout the movie, and one of them is the That Guy Award, and the That Guy Award is like the actor in the movie who you've seen in a bunch of other movies, but you don't know his name. Like
that guy.
Like I've seen that guy before. Like it's a lot of like guys who play henchmen, like bad guys. There's like a handful of those guys where you're like, he's always like a Russian mobster. I don't know his fucking name, but like that guy's great. So I love the That Guy Award. You were just talking about that thing, and where it's like, these guys. You see these famous people that were in these movies like a long time ago. You're like, hey, it's that guy. It's fucking like, Mr. Fantastic.
You know who I've noticed who's in a lot of movies is the guy that plays Theon Greyjoy. He's in a lot of movies. He's in John Wick.
Yeah. Dude, speaking of that, there's a friend of ours through, your own. Yeah. So through his friend circle, I've been around this guy a handful of times. Don't really know him all that well, but he's a really nice guy. Love him and his wife. Me and Taya like hung out with them at Euron's wedding in Cozumel last April. Like had a good time, whatever. And I kept telling Taya, I'm like, he fucking looks like someone that I know, and I can't put my finger on it. And I hate that, where it's like he looks familiar, and I don't know if I know him from somewhere or what it is. And I finally put it together, and I was like, he looks like the actor who plays Ramsay Bolton on Game of Thrones.
Oh.
That's what he looks like. Like, they literally look like they could be fucking brothers. I'm like, that's who it is. It took me so long.
You fucking bastard.
Oh, man. Anyway, fucking Yeah, dude. So there's a few movies that have come out here recently too that I have gone and seen without.
Yeah, the movie club's been pretty
movie
dull.
club.
I want to see The Accountant too.
Because I want to talk to you about The Accountant 2, Sinners, and I just went and saw something else too. What else did I see recently that we were gonna go but we didn't all go?
Well, we went and saw the new A24, the war movie.
Warfare.
Yeah.
Warfare.
I forgot Warfare.
I'd like to talk about that on the podcast as well. The other one that's coming up that, well, you said you're not a big fan of the Mission Impossible franchise, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm not like, yeah.
Because Thunderbolts is out now. I want to see Thunderbolts, and you're kind of out on Marvel, I think.
Yeah, they kind of.
Although I heard it's good. I heard Thunderbolts is good. But dude, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Like,
so I've watched a lot of the behind the scenes because I love watching Tom Cruise do like his stunts,
bro.
And some of the shit he's doing though, I'm like, are you harnessed in there? And
he's a maniac. I'm literally listening to a Tom Cruise movie draft where they're drafting like his movies over his career, and they're
the director's just sweating when they're coming to like a stunt scene.
They're talking about the fact that like it almost seems like he has a death wish and he wants to like die doing a crazy stunt on a Mission Impossible movie to bring people like the craziest movie experience ever. That's like kind of what he's like devoted the last
he's the next
15 years of his career to. And it's like, you know, if we found out tomorrow that like Tom Cruise died doing some stunt for a new Mission Impossible movie, you wouldn't be shocked by it. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he's been dangling off of the Burj Khalifa and fucking airplanes and that doing Halo jumps. It's like, yeah, I could see it.
That picture's so funny. Will Smith sitting on top of the Burj Khalifa with like his harness on, and then Tom Cruise is just like standing, hanging. You're just like,
dude, he's a fucking.
I think
Tom Cruise he's the man.
I think it was the last Mission Impossible when he drives off like the mountain.
Oh, on the motorcycle.
Yeah. So I watched that, and they have like the big ramp, and the director's like sitting in his chair, like grasping, like freaking out, and then they
Did you
jump,
see the behind the scenes video? It's probably the same video you're talking about,
Yeah.
but Simon Pegg, one of his co-stars, the guy from like Shaun of the Dead and everything, the comedic actor.
Oh, like the red-haired guy?
Yeah, like he's part of the team in Mission Impossible. They're doing the whole behind the scenes thing, and they're all kind of huddled up over there watching him go. And Simon Pegg's like, "Oh God, I can't watch. He's doing it again. I can't watch."
Well, the director's like holding onto his chair, like
yeah.
freaking out, and you hear on the radio, they're like, we have shoot, like the parachute opening,
Yeah.
and he's like,
oh, thank God. Tom Cruise didn't die on my movie. Thank God.
He didn't just die in an explosion with his motorcycle.
Dude, he's a fucking maniac. I'm telling you, man, you're sitting around sometimes, you want to rewatch these movies or like watch, you're looking for new movies to watch. The Mission Impossible franchise is one of, if not the best action franchises going in Hollywood right now. Like it's, especially from like, I think they have gotten consistently better. Like from 3 on, it's just like incredible action set pieces, great spy thrillers, awesome fucking hand-to-hand fight scenes. It's money, dude. I'm very excited for the new movie. Like so fucking
I might
excited.
check 1 or 2 out.
And I think my personal favorite is not the one that came out just before this, which was called Dead Reckoning Part 1, but number 6 is called Fallout, and it's got Henry Cavill in it. Fallout, dude. One of the best action movies I've seen.
You know, a movie I want to retouch
time.
on is what was it? The Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Good movie, dude.
I
haven't rewatched that either, but
I want to retouch on that.
You and I really liked that.
That
movie
was a great movie.
I thoroughly enjoyed my time seeing that movie. That was a fucking really.
And then
entertaining
I've also
movie.
been thinking on jumping back on to Civil War.
I have rewatched that,
but I gotta carve out like time where I'm just like I'm okay being in a dark spot for a couple hours.
It's heavy.
It's not a happy-go-lucky movie.
Yeah. I have revisited that. I think it's on HBO Max, which, by the way, they changed their name back. Fucking assholes.
Yeah, Max to HBO Max.
It's so funny watching that. Like, there's all these posts about like the logo and the name over the last like 6 years has changed like 7 times.
Right.
It's like just pick one.
You know what the funny thing is about it is like the old Max with the purple logo. That was an old app, so they made a whole new app instead of just updating the current one.
Well, I remember when me and Taya got, because we didn't have HBO through our cable package. We just signed up for like streaming HBO, right?
Max.
So when I got it, there was HBO Now and HBO Go. And like I forget which one was which, but one of them was tied to if you had it through your cable package, that's where you could watch it, like
I
on
think
your
that was
phone
HBO
or
Now.
whatever. Maybe that was Now. And we signed up for HBO Go, which was like, hey, I don't have HBO connected to a cable package. I just want to sign up for HBO.
Right.
And then they like merged them so that it was only one app, and then it was like HBO Max,
Right.
and then they got rid of the HBO, and then it was Max, and now they're back to having it be HBO
Right.
Max. I'm like, guys, for fuck's sake, just pick one.
And you know what's going to change on it? Just the fucking
Literally just the logo
app
and the fucking
logo.
font color. Like it's
That's
it's
it.
so dumb. I don't know. Anyway,
end of rant.
end of rant.
End of logo rant for HBO Max.
Anyway, so tune in here in a couple weeks. We're going to do a Last of Us pod. We may or may not get one in between now and then. I don't know if we want to try and squeeze one in, if we have something else we want to do. But
I don't think I have anything going anytime soon. So like my weekends are probably going to be free.
well, we got to pick a good topic too, unless we want to just flip the mics on and talk about something random. But
We should still try and get together with like the girls or like a smaller group and do like the Am I the Asshole again. I think that'd
Yeah,
be fun.
I would
kind
like
of
to
think
do
that'd be
another one
fun
of
to
those.
like get together and have a few drinks and like do
Yeah,
one that's just
for
kind of
sure.
like a
get together on a Saturday and just
right, just get
crack
together on
open
like a
some cool
Saturday
ones
night
and-
or Saturday like late evening, crack open some cool ones and just kind of like
Yeah.
chill. And we could even have more people than 4. We just be like, hey, we're gonna just pass microphones and
yeah.
I think that'd be kind of fun, but we'll have to schedule that one because
It's going to be a scheduling conflict for sure.
yeah. I'm gonna be like, I'm free almost all the time, and then everyone's gonna be like, yeah, we're not free, and I'll be like, okay, well, you're not on the episode.
I have a 2-hour window on this one Thursday, 6 months from now.
I'm like, exactly 2 hours, and they're like, yes, and it's like, when is the 2 hours? They're like 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, that doesn't work.
And if you don't book me now, it'll be booked. I'll have something going.
Go ahead and book. You just won't be on the episode. No, we'll think of something. Again, apologies for it being late. It just kind of, we did our last episode. I left town a few days later and then got home and was sick. And then Zach left town, and then I've still been sick this whole week. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll try and get back on a more regular
Right.
schedule.
This
which I know
has
we
kind
keep
of been a
saying,
weird
but-
year though, because I moved in early February, so it kind of threw that all off.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of been, like a week happens and we're like, hey, we're doing good. And then all of a sudden it's
yeah.
like, oh, I can't do this week. It's like, well, I'm out of town next week.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, no, I'm
Yeah.
sick. Now I'm sick. And it's just like, here we are. We got an episode to you, at least, not a month later, but we're here.
So everybody, go ahead.
We have, we got to just keep our eyes on the dates because it is already May and we do have our 5-year anniversary
yeah.
in August.
August the 1st, right? Did we
Yep.
start it on the 1st?
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe so. So that'll have to be.
We also failed to mention we're now past 150 episodes.
Yes, this is, I think, going to be episode 152 or
Yeah.
151 or 152.
We totally missed saying something on the 150th. I know it was either the dragon one or the dinosaur one, I think, was one of those.
Which isn't that impressive when you think some have like 3,800 episodes.
Yeah, well, some people are way more committed to posting like multiple,
They also get
multiple
paid.
episodes
They also
per
get paid
week
to do that,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
don't. So we don't get paid to talk.
I would love to just not have a job and have this be my job, and we could just talk about.
Yeah. So can
fucking
you guys blow our
movies.
podcast up so we can just do this every single day?
Well, hopefully the stream helps too, and then hopefully we can get the stream with sound on it.
That was
That also would help.
That was a funny blunder for any of you that
Yeah.
actually tried to go watch a YouTube video. I forgot to switch the audio to on.
So it's just a visual
So it
of
was
us
just
talking,
us
but you
looking
can't
like
hear
we're
me.
arguing with our hands to
Yeah.
each other, and in reality, it was just a fun conversation about dragons.
Just talking about dragons.
But,
a couple of dudes talking about
Just
dragons.
a couple of dudes talking about dragons without any audio. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Yeah, we'll be back with another episode sooner than later, and yeah, it was fun.
Thanks everybody. Till next time.
Bye bye.